Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 127 of Shacknews Presents Pop Goes the Culture. I'm Donovan Erskine, news editor here at Shacknews, joined, as always, by our illustrious head of video, Greg Burke. Greg, how are you doing today,
Yeah,
good
doing
friend?
well. It's third, and we're twinsies today. We're twinsies.
Oh, I didn't even
Twinsies.
notice the Shack shirt. I didn't even notice this. Yes, this is a relatively recent addition to my collection of Shack News attire. I think I just got this like a year ago, give or take.
I'm in
But
a hoodie
yeah, that
because
was
it's 60 degrees and it's freezing. So, in that's the California way.
you said it's 60 degrees and freezing. Listen to
Brr.
me. Well, it's 67 degrees here in Maryland today. It's warm. We're
Beautiful.
getting we're
You're
on
like
a
it's a beautiful
we're on a
day
warm
out.
streak. Yeah, I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt. I went and picked up some lunch earlier. Is exactly what I wore to go do so. Um, wow, that's hilarious. Jacket inside, 60 degrees. What a world. Well, Greg, one, it's great that we're recording the shirts unintentionally here. It really just speaks to our chemistry on this program. But also, we're back on Thursdays. Last week we did a special Wednesday show because we
Mhm.
reviewed Fallout, which is great, still great. Show is still dominating all the conversations that people are having about television, movies. It feels like, and while we're not going to talk about it today, we are going to talk about some other video game adaptations because boy, did we get a huge casting announcement in the world of Sonic the Hedgehog just days ago. Greg, we've talked about Sonic the Hedgehog 3 a couple of times. It's coming out this December. We know they've been working on it. It was one of those movies that kind of got slowed down by the strikes last year. Not too much though, because I remember that story of them like shooting with just the like statues or whatever the hell they were doing. Needless to say, Sonic 3 is coming out this year. They teased Shadow at the end of Sonic 2. And guess who's gonna be playing Shadow? Keanu Reeves, John Wick himself, Neo, whoever you know him as, the guy from Speed, whose name I would be surprised if anybody remembered. He's gonna be Shadow the Hedgehog, the iconic adversary. So last weekend, CinemaCon was happening in Las Vegas. A lot of things happen at CinemaCon that they don't post on the internet 'cause it's just for the
Yeah.
people in person.
Yeah.
And one of the things that happened during the Paramount panel was that they showed the first footage from Sonic 3. And the people who described it said that you could see Shadow and that he was riding his motorcycle or motorbike, whatever the hell the vehicle is that Shadow has, which is like his signature weapon in his game and in some of his appearances in Sonic media. But one of the interesting sticking points was that one of the Paramount execs, or maybe it was like one of the filmmakers, said during the panel that they were like not ready to share who was playing Shadow, or like they were gonna like announce something soon, which started to like spin out speculation because people were like, oh, well, who is it? It's got to be somebody like huge. And then about 6 days later, yeah, this report comes out that it's Keanu Reeves himself, Johnny Silverhand. Grant, you do not care much for the Sonic films. I don't know if you care about the Sonic games, but you like the movie Speed, I think.
I think Speed.
So
No. I
are
think
you?
like I think I'm happy. I'll say this on the record and all my relation. Like I'm happy that fans are enjoying the films. That said, I think they're written terribly. Like I think if there ever was a movie franchise for fans and only for fans, it would be the Sonic franchise because like it just doesn't. None of it makes any sense. Like a lot of the
That and
stuff, the way
FNAF.
it's written, with like especially the first movie, like Sonic can run up walls, and all of a sudden he can't because we got to have a joke. Like stuff like that bugs the hell out of me. Like build your world, have reasons to be there. I don't know when Sonic and Cyclops became a family because it's completely just like shoehorned in like as a side thought. Like it's a very
Cyclops.
odd structured written movie, but it's not for me. It's for that rabid 4chan Sonic user. So people who are on Reddit and the
4chan. What
and
an
the
what an insult. 4chan. Come on,
and,
man.
and the and
4
the, the
4chan.
Reddit and the
What's the
forums,
word?
dude. I mean I've covered Sonic. I mean and extensively, like, and I think the games are great, but I start to go down that rabbit hole where they post the interviews and the discussions they have about it, and it's not just 4chan, but like Reddit and Facebook groups, and it just goes down this complete rabbit hole. Like it's just this
Right.
endless pit, like Five Nights at Freddy's of just this. I mean, I'm sure it's a very small percentage of fans that tend to be the loudest, but
Yeah.
it just gets very weird. Gets very weird very quickly.
Not yeah, not all Sonic
Right.
fans are weird freaks, but there are a
No.
lot of weird freaks that
It's
enjoy
just
Sonic. And
the smallest metric tends to be the loudest usually on the internet.
also very true, and you've seen it directly because we cover a lot of Sonic here on Shack News. Fun fact about me growing up, I was a Sonic kid through and through. I mean, if you asked like 8-year-old Donovan, Sonic or Mario, I'm like, is that a serious question? I was like, it's Sonic.
But like what
Because I
what
didn't
game?
have
What game was your like
well
introduction? That's the thing I get
well
confused
I
about the series. Yeah.
the thing is I didn't have like a I had a Game Boy,
Mhm.
and that was my only Nintendo anything until GameCube. So if it wasn't on a Game Boy or GameCube,
Mhm.
that like I'd missed out on like the original Mario platformers. It was just Pokemon. If I was playing Nintendo, it was Pokemon, and then everything else was on other platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, whatever. So like Sonic Heroes, this was 2003. That was my game. That was the game that made me fall in love with Tails. Why Tails is still my favorite character. So I was always player two when I play with my stepbrother. But I loved Sonic. I was a huge Sonic kid. I still like the franchise, just like at arm's length. I don't go crazy for new Sonic games. Like I played maybe 20 minutes of Frontiers. I reviewed a couple Sonic games for Shacknews, and I thought they were fine enough. I think these days, if you presented me, you're like, you can have a new AAA big budget Mario game or a new AAA big budget Sonic game. I'm gonna betray my younger self and take the Mario game, but I do have Sonic roots,
You did
so
Sonic
I still have an
Origins
affinity.
Remastered. I remember cutting that interview, and you gave it a good score, but there were like 100 comments, and the only thing everyone cared mentioned was that you mentioned how like '06 was bad. Like that was the only thing everyone
Yeah,
focused on. There was a 10-minute
said
review that it said one line. That's all anyone caught. Where's the rest of the review with the positive score? Oh no, don't worry about that. '06
look,
wasn't as terrible as everyone says it is. Like it was,
I said, "Hey, this is probably the only good 3D Sonic game," and people disagreed with me. That's a fine look. I'm glad that they're passionate enough to express themselves. And what I'll say is, one of the things I've taken from my Sonic roots is just how freaking cool Shadow the Hedgehog is. I mean, is there a better like and a nemesis in video games than Shadow? Like Mario games are better than Sonic games, but Shadow clears anybody Mario's fighting. I'll put that out there. Shadow is such a cool like antagonist throughout the Sonic series. And he's just like the quintessential like the villain's cooler than the protagonist. He's so like Vegeta coded.
well, he is the
Shadow's
ultimate
great.
life form. So
He is. He's great. Shadow's awesome. So I'm glad that he's in this movie. As somebody who watched Sonic 2 and was not moved by it at the end when you see like Shadow in the tank, I was like, "Oh, we're cooking with gas now. Here
we're
we go."
cooking with gas.
Uh, so I'm excited to see Shadow in a movie. I just think it'll be funny. Now, the Keanu Reeves of it all is interesting, right? Because here's the thing, and this is an opinion I've said in on the internet before. I like Keanu Reeves. I really do. I think that Speed is great. Matrix is great. John Wick movies, awesome
Bill
awesome
and
modern
Ted
action
off the
films.
hook, absolutely.
Bill and Ted, great movies. I just don't think that he is a great actor. I don't think he's very good at acting. It's just like the discipline itself. I try to imagine Keanu Reeves delivering lines as Sonic. And just like, I guess I could see him being like, "Get that thing out of my sight." I don't know. I just feel like he's gonna start speaking, and it's just gonna be Keanu Reeves. Like, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
felt
like
the
some
same way
people,
about
some actors are like that. Some actors only have like they do their thing and that's their thing. I think Keanu has a lot of. I think the problem with Keanu Reeves is
oh,
people
no.
cast him in similar roles, right? And like they don't let him stretch his wings enough. Because like if you watched movies like The Parenthood or Bill and Ted, that's loads different than The Matrix. That's loads different than John Wick. Like he has
Yeah,
range. I just think the roles he
yeah,
gets that he enjoys doing are just they're very Witcher, right? Very Geralt, grunty, serious, badass type of
yes.
roles, like, and that's what he's doing, and that's fine. I mean, like like you said, those
Mhm.
movies are great.
Yeah, I mean, not that Shadow the Hedgehog is gonna demand range from Keanu Reeves. It's just I feel like reading this article that I wrote, I can already like hear him playing the character, and I just that doesn't feel like a great thing. Also, TJ rejects my claim that Shadow is cooler than all of Mario's villains. As our resident Bowser fan, I do respect that. I'm sorry, but who are you taking? Right? Put Shadow in Smash. Sorry, I'm getting off topic here,
Why
but
isn't
this is
Shadow in Smash? Put him in.
yeah,
Why isn't he?
this
That's
is
a weird. Yeah, that is weird. There's only Sonic. That's
he
it.
was he was like a trophy or something. I think in one of the games. I forget.
Oh, I
It's
hate when they do
slander.
that. I hate when they do.
But Shadow is also no, this is also like an interesting kind of full circle moment because if you remember, Keanu Reeves in Cyberpunk, Idris Elba was in the new Cyberpunk DLC. Idris Elba is Knuckles in the Sonic movies. He appeared in two. He's about to get a spin-off show and he's going to be in three. Now, Keanu Reeves will be in Sonic 3, so they'll have both been involved with video game projects on both sides of the spectrum. Random interesting tidbit. Also, like at this point, three movies in, the Sonic films have like put together an interesting cast of actors. Like you've got Idris Elba, Keanu Reeves, Ben Schwartz, Jim Carrey, like all. And if you have told me 6 years ago that all those people would be in the third Sonic movie, I'd be like, "What? This is animated? What are we talking about?" So I think that's a testament to how well these movies have done. Also, not related to Keanu Reeves. Apparently, Greg, from this footage people saw, we're finally going to get fat Dr. Robotnik. Obviously, Jim Carrey's a very slender man, and he's been a skinny Dr. Robotnik the last couple of movies. But apparently, in this one, he's like fallen on hard times and like depressed, and he's like actually large now. So I think they're going to put like Jim Carrey in some sort of fat suit or something for this movie. So there you go. For
I
people who
mean,
wanted the
I mean,
true to the
it's
comic book, true to the game. Sorry.
that's the one thing I think the movies have going for it is that like it's Jim Carrey had like a big serious acting role like phase going on, which is fine. Like
Mhm.
he wanted to stretch his roots, totally respect that, you know. And he kind of got weird for a hot minute there, and then like now like Sonic was like the return to the '90s Jim Carrey I grew up with, you know. So that was a big, I think part of the big part of the movie's success was that Jim Carrey doing his Jim Carrey thing again that he hadn't done in like 2 decades, you know. So I
Mhm.
mean that was because like you know I mean like you look at that character and you can see the mask, you see Ace Ventura, you see all these characters he used to play, and then you know
Yeah.
yeah, and he then he kind of fell off the radar for a bit, got a little eccentric, which some people do. So and now he's coming back in full force, and I think that really I think that's like the key to success of these movies is him. Like I think he's what's getting my generation and younger generations into the theater, right? Like the older generation are going to say, "Hey, this looks like old Jim Carrey," and the new generations are being introduced to Jim Carrey for the first time. You know, so well, at least this funny Jim Carrey, I guess. You know, the over the top Jim Carrey. I think he's really the one
Yeah.
carrying this franchise is him. You lose him and you lose the audience, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's worth saying that, like, at this point, the Sonic movies are, like, the most successful thing that Jim Carrey has been a part of in, like, 15 years? What? Like, maybe more? Like, I see what you want about them, and I know people have even, like, criticized him for, like, coming back and just doing these over and over again. Because I know a handful of years ago, he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna retire from acting. I'm only coming out for, like, projects I feel passionate about." Then he did, like, 2
Mhm.
Sonic sequels.
Yeah.
So people tried to poo-poo on him for it, but
Sanic.
I'm like, "These are gonna go down as, like, some of the biggest movies in his career." Like, beloved actor Jim Carrey, so I think it's, I don't know, I think it's cool that he comes back and does these, and he's committed to them. When you're watching them, this is not like a famous actor sleepwalking through these movies to make more money late in his career. Like, he is full, unhinged Jim Carrey in these movies, and I think it's, to their benefit. But, Greg, it won't be long until we get a first trailer for this movie eventually. It's gotta come around sooner or later, so once we hear that this man's voice as Shadow the Hedgehog, I'm sure we'll react to it right here on this show. And speaking of trailers, one that we were waiting for has finally arrived because, Greg, Transformers 1, an animated movie, but please let me specify, this is not a Bayverse Transformers film. This is an animated Transformers movie that I believe does not feature any human characters. Just got its first trailer. Greg, you are our big Transformers animated kid, so I'll let you chat this one out.
Well, I mean, oh, Denny says y'all bring up the Matrix and John Wick, but the real winner is Constantine. But I think what Donovan was saying is that like all those roles are very similar. Constantine is similar to John Wick. John Wick's
Mm,
similar to Neo. Like they're all very similar wheelhouses, and that's fine. Some people have their wheelhouse, right? But yeah, that's I
yeah.
think that's funny. So back to this thing. Let me switch it. I'm not gonna rag on the trailer too much because this is obviously a movie for kids. It's a kids movie. It's for children.
Right.
It is the target demographic is 13 and under. So I'm not gonna be too hard on it. That said, personally looking at it, I'm like, I wish the comedy wasn't so forced. Like, there's a lot of really forced comedy in the trailer. Like everything's a
Right.
laugh riot, right? Like everything's you know, they're learning to be transformers and stuff like that. And also, like, if you look at the poster, which I sent you a picture of, another reason you can tell it's kid centric is because like color theory. If you look at Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and RC, they're all bright colors and they'll have blue eyes, and Megatron is like this washed out gray. Who's the
Evil.
outcast? Who's the odd man out? Who's the villain at the end of the movie? You know?
That's visual storytelling.
Yeah, yeah. When you use color like that, like it's especially for kids, it's a way for kids to identify the characters quickly. That said, like I mean, it's a smart move by Hasbro because I don't know, not tying into other stories, but like they're having difficulties right now from their business, and having a Transformers movie targeted for kids get kids and adults into the theater, and it introduces a new generation to Transformers for the first time, kids specifically. because I think they're losing the adults like slowly. The last Beast movie, that Star Transformers movie was really, it made money, but I mean, a lot of people were like, "What is this garbage?" Like, so the original Transformers movies, those are divisive as well, but they made a crap ton of money. And I think this is a good way to kind of not reboot, but to just it's an infection vector for a younger audience to be introduced to Transformers for the first time, so they can start buying the toys now. Because spoilers for everybody who's a Transformers fan, the series was always designed to sell toys. Period. That's the whole point it was created. Toys.
How dare you? How goddamn dare you?
So, like I said, I don't want to be too hard on it. Like, it looks like a fun little kid movie, like a fun little animation movie that, you know, kids will watch, you know, again and again and again. And maybe it'll get a new generation into Transformers. Because, like, what is there? Like, there's a few animated shows that kids could watch, but they're still pretty serious in terms of tone and, like, and they have complex plots and stories. So, like, I have an 8-year-old
Bluey.
nephew.
Just show your kids Bluey.
Right. Like, I have an 8-year-old nephew. Like, what is there for him in the Transformers universe? Not much. Like, you know what I mean? He can't really watch much. There's like one show I think he can watch, and like that's really it. But
Transformations. Oh, well, yeah, this new one it will be for him.
yeah, I think this new one is for him. Like, and that's okay, and that's completely okay. The fact that they like flooded it with like big, huge AAA talent is kind of weird. I think that's how they get the older generation to go see it. Maybe like, you know, they put John Hamm in it and Chris Hemsworth and all these other huge AAA actors in this animated film. And if those of you wondering, like, actors usually love doing animated films because globally they do fantastic and their residuals are off the chart. So
also just a much smaller time commitment because
Yeah.
it's you're usually just doing VO, which
Yeah.
is like in a booth. You're not on location jumping off of rooftops and shit for 3 months. But I think, you know, it's interesting because when this was announced and they were like talking about the cast and they were saying it's going to be animated, a lot of folks in like the 30, 40 age demographic that I follow were like, oh, yes, we're finally getting a new anime Transformers movie. We're going back to like the classics. This is the one that we've been waiting for. And then the trailer drops and it does look like this would air on like Nickelodeon
It does.
in the mornings.
Yes, it does.
And a lot of them are like, all right, well, that's that. But you know, on the bright side, no humans. There's no like weird Michael Bay racial stereotype characters. You know,
Yep.
none of that. None of that. No piss jokes. That's all. That's all a W. I'll take that. Axeman's a fan of John Hamm. I like John Hamm too. I might as well go through the whole cast here. We got Chris Hemsworth as Optimus Prime. So if you ever wanted to know what Thor would sound like as Optimus Prime, there you go.
Or an Australian.
Brian doing a robot accent. Brian Tyree Henry is Megatron. I like that. I like Brian Tyree Henry. He's got a good deep voice. He's Miles' dad in the Spider-Verse movies. Scarlett Johansson, she's in all the things. Lawrence Fishburne, all the things. Keegan-Michael Key as Bumblebee is interesting. I thought Bumblebee, as a kid who grew up on the Bay movies, thought Bumblebee didn't talk. I thought that he was just a beep boop bop boop beep kind of guy. But I think he does talk.
They were worried to see, like, 'cause remember the controversy when the first movie came out, like, about him not talking, and I think that the writers and director were worried about, like, the believability of, like, having a robot having long conversations or being able to talk the entire time they're on screen would have lost the audience, right? It was the first time you got this huge, big budget movie. Like, obviously, like, and the movies, like, don't misconstrue, the movies made billions of dollars, like, globally, but, like, they were highly controversial and, like, divided that fan base, similar to, like, what Star Wars did, right? Like, they good. Half people love it, half people hate it. It was very divisive. I remember when it came out. But sorry, continue.
No, that was really all I had to say about it. Personally, I'm not a big Transformers guy. I liked when the first Bay movie came out. I thought it was very good. That was like a pivotal moment in my childhood. I remember seeing that in theaters when it dropped and loving it, and then not liking the rest of them. But then Bumblebee 2018, the Haley Steinfeld spinoff that Travis Knight directed, I also liked quite a bit. And that's like the extension of my Transformers fandom. I just don't. Those are never my series. I don't have much affinity for these characters of this universe. But
oh, dude,
you know,
I mean, like, speaking of the
folks
like
that are in it.
the opening 10 minutes is the best Transformers movie I've ever seen in my entire life. And sometimes I just watch the opening, and it's not even open. It's not even 10 minutes. It's 3 minutes. I just watched that 3 minutes. And I'm like, I'm good. Like that to me. Like, the movie was okay. It wasn't a bad movie, but like the opening is so good. And you're like, like, their designs are good, the way it's shot is good, all the voice actors like sound great. This was the movie everyone wanted, and so like it is a little bit like, oh, Transformers 1, what happened?
Movie.
But like, where is this movie? Where is this movie? This movie's amazing. Like the war.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the civil war on Cybertron. Let's talk about how it started, where it is, like what's going on. But like, good lord, like even their designs had been changed from the Michael Bay. Even though this is a Michael Bay verse movie, like their designs are like so close to the OG while still maintaining that futuristic look, but not being like
Yeah.
boxes. It's just fantastic, and you see like all the grades. You see most of the Decepticons. You get to see Ravage, which is wild. I think this is what people wanted. So it's very weird that it is weird that they didn't go for this type of style, but I also understand that this type of style is probably outrageously expensive to do, which is why the opening's only 3 minutes long.
Yeah, the budget of this movie probably would have tripled if it was entirely this.
Yes,
But
but
I do
like,
get no. I mean, it's a great opening. It's somebody who
yes.
doesn't even have like an affinity for Transformers lore. I remember sitting on the watch list and being like, "Oh shit, we're here, we're going." Yeah, and I agree that it's better than most Transformers media of the century. So there you go. I mean, Transformers is in that club of IP where it's like it's been around for so long, it's had so many adaptations, and you can make a strong
Yeah.
argument that there's been more bad than good at this point. But the folks that love it are there for it. I also think that applies to Sonic for what it's worth. But I'm looking forward to seeing what the take is on this. Okay, we live in a world where I think the animated Spider-Man movies are the best ones and are better than all the live action ones. So who knows? Maybe this comes out and people are like, oh wait, no, this is like one of the best
No,
Transformers
I'll agree
movies
with you
we've
there
ever gotten.
100%. Like, it's just,
Mhm.
he's just, that character, I think, works much better animated, period. I think you can do so much more with it animated, have more characters go, like, farther out there and not be as grounded, like, it's still, but those movies do still do all of that animated, which is great. They do it better than any other live action ones I've ever seen.
Yeah. There you go. Those are my thoughts on Transformers 1. At least right now, I'm sure one of us will see it and review it once it comes out. But until then, you should be
Yeah.
following this here live stream.
I mean,
Hit the
again,
heart.
it's for kids, right? Like it's
It
for
is.
kids. So just go easy. I even say go easy. It's not for the older
Yeah.
adults.
It's for kids, but the Shacknews Twitch channel is not for kids because we say a lot of bad words here. And if you want to hear us say bad words, hit the notification bell so that you're made aware every time that we go live, because this is far from our only stream. I mean, even today, we got Tekken into the lab coming back. I saw TJ and Denny playing in that stream earlier. I saw the name of the character TJ is playing. I'm not going to try to recall it because it is hard to pronounce, but just know there's some more streams coming up soon. And of course, Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesdays, we've got Steve Tendo, and Delicious. TJ's back on Mondays as well. A lot of streams happening. Mario Kart will be happening sometime in the near future. A lot of things you won't want to miss. Which is why you should be here. And if you want to show some extra support, consider subscribing. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, which such a significant portion of the human population is, you can subscribe at no additional charge once a month. I learned recently that there was like some weird issue going on with subscriptions on Twitch, which I was completely not privy to, but apparently they're fixing it. Anywho, subscribe, help us keep the lights on here on our channel. And lastly, you should be following us on all the platforms because we're on X at Shack News. We're on Instagram Media. Wait, we're on Instagram at Shack News Media, and we're on Facebook. Truly, our greatest platform of all, the social network, as it was referred to in the Aaron Sorkin film. We're just Shack News. We post all sorts of stuff. Shorts clips. You might see shorts of us. Greg, I forgot to tell you, I had a friend text me a few days ago. It was like his YouTube homepage and like little shorts carousel. One of them was us talking about Fallout.
Dude,
He
that's
screenshotted.
awesome.
He
That's
sent
such
it
a
to
big
me.
win
Yeah.
for us. You guys out there have no
Yep.
idea how hard we work to try to get
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
that point on the For You feed. That's a
Yeah.
big accomplishment for us. That's a win.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And he doesn't have like a heavy Shack News algorithm like I would. So yes, please continue hanging out with us, chatting with us. A lot of folks talking to us today. Axeman's in here says X is gonna take it from you. Yeah, X has taken a lot from us, not just our check marks, but our dignity. And as we move forward, I want to remind people to play Bubbletron. I should mention that more on here. Bubbletron.com, easy URL. It's spelled just how it sounds. Bubbletron, one word, not a transformer, despite our last story. Don't get those things confused. Bubbletron is not owned by Viacom,
Can we get a
is not an
transformer that
Autobot.
specializes in stock prices?
It just
Evaluatron,
doesn't fight.
and he turns into that little like a monitor with that grid that also fuses that's red and green. That's hard to read.
Oh, yeah. That's hard, yeah. We should pitch this.
Bubble,
He just
yeah,
doesn't
that,
fight. He just, like, talks about how this is gonna, like, affect the global market when
yeah,
they
and he has
start,
like
like,
the
destroying
show
property.
like that crazy guy I also watches too. That
Oh,
guy that's very energetic that points at things. Like he has a show on Cybertron about the stocks or the stock market. Yes, let's get him in the
interesting.
let's get him in the show. That'll get the stock market demographic. Come on, these are check marks, people.
Yeah.
Let's
Well, while we're working on that, visit bubbletron.com and play around or two. Try to get the highest value company of the day, such as a drive-through lawn care service for tweens. I wonder how much that'd be worth. Oh, I'm rolling. My Gamba eyes. Wow,
uh
and that's a whopping $91,872. And just like that, you can catch your valuation on the business of your dreams. And I believe these refresh daily, right at midnight. So please check that out. Greg, we're moving on to another topic that is right in your wheelhouse, good sir. Because not only are you a big Transformers fan, you're also a big fantasy guy.
yeah.
And what's more fantasy than The Witcher? Specifically, Netflix's The Witcher series, which can I just say time is flying by, man. I remember like writing articles when they were like, is there gonna be a season two of The Witcher? I remember when that was like a
Mhm.
thing. And not only now, season four is in production. Season five has been confirmed. And season five is gonna be the end of this show's run. It's over. This is it. They're gonna shoot seasons four and five back to back. That's it. They're closing the book, packing it up, going home. Show's ending. Um, where I'm from, we used to call that getting canceled when the show ended, but they said it's concluding with season five. So they're gonna bring the story to a perfect close. Uh, we've already seen the last of Henry Cavill in the show. He hightailed it out of there after season three. So now we're getting Liam Hemsworth as Geralt for the final two seasons of The Witcher. Greg, are you going to come back and watch the show without Henry Cavill? Do you not give a damn? How do you feel about us getting two more seasons and then it ending?
I feel like I've it's such a good show. It's based on a series of books for those you haven't if you don't know that. It's based on a series of books, Polish novels that was turned into a video game that became a series. So just a nice PSA out
Mhm.
there. Books is based on books. Uh, um, I mean I'm fine with it. I love the world. I think they did a great job world building and explaining. Like I think the hardest thing to do in any fantasy show or movie is like explain how magic works and how that
Right.
exists in a world where like you know what I mean, and like they did it so well in this, right? Like people are afraid of it and they have their own culture, they have their own society, all the mages get together, right? Like and I think they handled it so well. Where like in Lord of the Rings, also the novels, I think do exceptionally well too. Dungeons and Dragons does it like the least well, like because it's all bombastic. But
Right.
I'm excited about it. But if you ever want to get my wife going on a tangent, you just say, "Oh
Uh-oh.
yeah, you got to watch Witcher season 3, 4, 2, 4, and 5," and she just goes off about them losing Henry Cavill. And
Oh, she's a big Cavill fan. That
yeah,
makes sense.
it's like with Denny's in here and we talk about Shane Black, she'll just go on and how terrible. So she was showing me memes yesterday of like, "Oh, Kirkland brand Geralt," like I was just like, "That's mean." I was like,
Oh
"We haven't
man.
even seen him yet. He
Poor
might be
Liam
good."
Hemsworth.
And my
He,
wife's like, "Nope,
for all we
terrible,
know,
terrible."
Liam Hemsworth might be putting everything he's got
Right.
in his soul and spirit in the plane. I mean, he might be studying day in, day out to bring this character to life for fans. Because you know what the other option is? The show just ends with season three.
The
You
show
don't get
ends, yeah.
resolution because Henry Cavill is ready to do other stuff. No. It's always tough when you're taking over an established role, and obviously it's a testament to Henry Cavill because 5 years ago he wasn't even Geralt. It's not like this is a character he's been playing for his whole life, but he just kind of became instantly iconic. And I mentioned in my article, but like The Witcher season one, it was part of that early wave of video game adaptations that were like good question mark, where it was like, wait, The Witcher was actually pretty good for like a video game show. That
Hmm.
was around like when we got like the first Sonic movie, and everyone was like, oh man, they kind of turned that around into something watchable. And obviously that was all followed by like, the Mario movie. Now we have the Fallout series, The Last of Us. But The Witcher is definitely kind of firmly, it'll be in the history books when people write about how video game movies became good. Those will definitely be a chapter in that story.
I mean, I wouldn't even classify
I
this as a video game adaptation, really, because like
That's true.
the
It's a
source
book
material is the
adaptation.
books, not the game, right? They're not basing it off the game; they're basing it off the books. So, like, I think that's like, I mean, it's there's certainly a video game that made it popular, though. Like, that's what people made them realize there are books, right? When it's their infection, we talk about infection vector on the show, right? So, no, it definitely plays a
Sure.
role for sure. I'm not saying it's.
Yeah,
should be cast aside.
yeah.
But
No, no, you're right. It is definitely is a book adaptation first, and I think they even mentioned in their announcement that this is going to once they're done with season 5, they'll have adapted all the books that they wanted to adapt, or whatnot. Also, I want to read the quote here from Lauren Schmidt Hirsch, who is the showrunner and creator of the show for Netflix.
mhm.
It is with huge pride that we begin shooting our penultimate season of The Witcher with a stellar cast, including some exciting new additions, led by Liam Hemsworth as Geralt of Rivia. We're thrilled to be able to bring Andrzej Sapkowski's books to an epic and satisfying conclusion. It wouldn't be our show if we didn't push our family of characters to their absolute limit. Stay tuned to see how the story ends. So there you have it. I think that 5 seasons is probably for just good. That's enough for The Witcher. I don't think The Witcher was ever going to go on to run for like 12 seasons. Now who knows if Cavill was still involved and he wanted to like make the show forever, how far they would have been willing to stretch it. But I think that Netflix has gotten quite a bit of juice out of The Witcher, and making it to season 5 puts it in rare company. There's got to be a single digit number of shows that have gotten 5 seasons on Netflix as originals. I mean, hell, even Stranger Things is just now getting to its 5th season, and that show's been on since 2016. So good
Production.
for these folks, you know.
I think the big misconception I think people don't realize is how much work goes into this stuff. I mean, like, I tried really hard not to binge the Fallout show in like 3 days, but I did. But like that took like 4 years to make. You know what I mean? Like it takes so long. Like think about when we first got pictures from the set, right? That was what,
Yeah,
2 years ago? Like,
way
and
back.
the production started 2 years prior to that. Like it takes so long, and people consume it so quickly, and then they want more instantly, and it takes a long time. Like
Feed me.
yeah, I mean, like follow, like I mean, I'm a little more familiar with gaming turnaround times, like because productions changed so much since I've last been in the film industry. But like,
We made a bunch of
people want
games
Fallout
ourselves.
5. It's like, guys, that game, Fallout 5, a game like that takes several years to make. You know what I mean? Like, and they're not even touching it right now. They're in the
You better
middle
hope
of
you
Elder
live to see
Scrolls,
Fallout 5.
right? So like, it's
That's
gonna be a minute, guys. You're gonna have to find something else. You know,
buckle up.
it takes so
Buckle up,
long.
homies.
But like, yeah, I mean, I love it. I mean, and this isn't the end. This could be the end of the Witcher show, but like, you've established all this world building. I don't think the prequels did so bad, but I wouldn't mind spin-offs about maybe another Witcher and his journey through the world, right? Or like another
Yeah,
character in the world doing their thing. Like that's something that can
they
also
probably
build
will.
up. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Once you've done that groundwork, I feel like spin-offs can be really interesting. They, of course, they can also fall on their face a lot, but
Yeah, anything can, you know. But yeah, I think that this is not the last we'll see of the Witcher universe. I didn't mention my news story because it's kind of just editorializing, but yeah, I'd be surprised if this is the last Witcher project we saw on Netflix. Now that they've got this IP in their stable, they've already done animated spin-off, like you mentioned, a little mini prequel series.
yeah.
There's more milk in that cow, baby.
I just feel
They'll
I
find
feel that my
something.
wife agrees. Like my wife always says, like the only reason she watches it is for Henry Cavill, and I'm like, great, okay. So like that was a big part of their audience was Henry, doing
I mean, he's a very beloved actor, yeah.
his
He's
well, I mean
very
his grunting and his shirtless stuff. Yeah, my wife even complains how the lack of
people.
sex after the first season is very bad.
Well, tell Nicole that she can look forward to Warhammer, the Warhammer show Henry Cavill's doing on. That's gonna be like Amazon, right? I don't think he'll have his shirt off on that. It'll probably be like an ogre or something. I don't know
He'll be
Warhammer,
he'll be
yeah.
a space marine most likely, and like there's a bunch of controversial
But they
stuff
wear
going on
like
with
huge
Games
armor
Workshop.
though,
Yeah,
don't they? Yeah, they got their armors like the size of their heads.
I don't think they're allowed to
Yeah,
take it off either. Like it's very like the lore.
that
Like it's been a hot
blows.
minute since I've studied the 40k lore because it gets really messy like really quickly. But like they're not supposed to be
Right.
a lot of space marines. Space marines are supposed to be like an elite squad that you call when the guard can't do their job or they need help. So there's not a lot of them, and I think like someone will correct me online, but like there's only like 400 or like 1,000 ever in existence at one time because based on how they're made and how they're created, like it's very weird, and they use gene sequencing. It's very odd. But they're having like not to kind of switch, but like there's been controversy with Games Workshop the last like several days, which is
Yeah,
wild. I don't know if you've caught that discourse on Twitter. Games Workshop has been trending. Space Marine's been trending. Yeah, it's been bad. It's been very bad. That's the discourse, unfortunately, around that. But no,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
he'll
no
be great in
good.
the show. He'll be great in the Space Marine show. I'm sure it's Space Marines, right? Like, and he has male and female audiences watching him, so like a lot of people will tune in. And Amazon just throws money at their productions. I say it all the time, but it'll be amazing.
They
Like
do.
it'll look amazing.
Yes, they do. Speaking of Amazon, Axeman in the chat here says the guest cameos in Fallout are throwing me. Uh, Garth Ennis and John McCrae. Oh no, that's Agent 47. I don't know which cameos these are
The
that were.
cameos, but like one of the cameos is the original voice of Cogsworth for Fallout 4. I forget what his name is, but he's in it. But I wouldn't call it a cameo. Like
Oh,
it,
the dude with the hair.
yeah, it flow like everything in that show.
Yeah,
Not
he
to
was
go off on a
fun.
tangent about how great that show is, but like
Oh,
everything ties into something and makes sense. And like it transitioned to him getting blacked out and waking up from the robot, like as a way to transition between the time periods, which was clever. Like everything's done very cleverly and everything has meaning. It's not just shoehorned in for no reason, which is like one of the reasons I think I love the show so much.
yeah.
Let me see if I can find a clip from it.
Mhm. No, I got you, X-Men. Actor cameos. I do know the character now. You know what's funny? When he popped up, I was like, man, he sounds just like Cogworth in the game. I didn't realize that was the actual actor. I thought they found like a good talent to do it. Yeah. Are you enjoying the show though, X-Men? I mean, Fallout's a great TV show. Great little television program they've got going on there. Um, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't
with
find it.
that,
It's just
uh,
it's buried somewhere in reaction videos and like yeah, it's very very weird.
mhm.
Very weird. Oh well, no, I know. I
Well,
mean, like the Fallout universe is dark, and they lean into the humor a lot. So like you forget that it's a terrible place to live and be in.
it does seem like an awful place to be in, and I think that's why that universe is so interesting because it is like it's a lot of like the happy smiley imagery next to like death and despair everywhere. But yeah, I do like that show quite a bit, and goddamn, I can't wait for more. But before we get more of that, something I really can't wait for more of is more Avatar, and I'm not talking blue people, baby. I'm talking airbenders, firebenders, earthbenders, and waterbenders, because without a doubt, my favorite thing that Paramount announced at CinemaCon was this goddamn Avatar movie that they've been talking about for what has to be 4 or 5 years now. It's coming out. Now, this is a two-parter, right? Because last week they announced a bunch of stuff about it. One, they said they're doing a trilogy of Avatar animated movies, all about Aang and his like group Team Avatar, as they call themselves, like as adults. Obviously, they're children during the show. Even when the show ends, they're still young children. And then Legend of Korra takes place like 50, 60 years later. So they're all like either elderly or dead by the time that show takes place. So there's a lot of gaps to be filled in. And the first movie is gonna be called Aang: The Last Airbender. Great. That's perfectly fine. Just name it whatever you want. I don't It's a dumb name, but I don't give a damn. And it's being made by the original creators of the show, which is awesome. Michael DiMartino and Brian Katzko are doing it, which I love hearing that those original creators are in there. These dudes are geniuses in my eyes. They announced the cast. It's not the actors that played them in animation. They got a different cast playing the adult version, which I guess makes sense. Um,
It's been enough time
Dave,
though.
but
They're all darts. That seems a really odd choice. They're all
they
adults
are
now.
They are all adults, but they might not have the voice they want, I don't know. It just,
Or
they
money.
sounded like
They wanted too much money.
dude, those actors are not big enough to demand money. These actors are probably bigger than they are. Those people aren't famous. Nobody knows who voiced Aang in the Avatar. That dude's, like, selling insurance now. But I'm just saying, like, they're not, like, in demand, actors, but, I think that, 1, I cannot wait for this goddamn first movie to come out. Dave Bautista is gonna play the villain, which I think at this point, Dave Bautista has had like the best turn from wrestler to actor as anybody. I think he's passed John Cena and The Rock. Like he's done so much cool stuff. Obviously, Drax in the Marvel movies is great, but the way he's kind of diversified himself since stepping away from wrestling, I think is really cool. And him voicing the villain, I think that'll be fun. He has a great voice for it. We don't know anything about this movie other than it's going to be about these characters as adults. But goddamn, I cannot wait for it. Now, I said this was a two-parter because one, it was originally scheduled to come out October 2025, and then this morning they announced it's actually going to be January 2026, so they delayed it like 3 months. Which, yes, 2026 is far away, and I don't even want to talk about things happening in 2026 right now. But it's only 3 months from when it was gonna come out anyway, so I'm not losing any sleep over this.
I
And
can't
it's been goddamn 10 years since the show ended, or more than that, 15
I
years,
can't help but
so
feel that after they walked off the set, they're like, we're gonna make our own Avatar series with animation and
Oh,
and
no,
the
no,
real
yeah,
characters.
That's actually what they did pretty much because
Yeah.
the original creators were involved in the live action show on Netflix, left for creative differences like 2 years ago while the show was in the middle of being produced, and then they spun up Avatar Studios at Nickelodeon, and they announced this is where this original announcement came from, that we're gonna do an Avatar movie, and then we're gonna do a new show, but it's gonna be an animated show about the next Avatar in the site. Like, we're just gonna keep moving the universe forward with the new set of characters. So, no update on the show, but this movie is that project, that first project that they're gonna make. So, I'm down. Please bring it to me. I watched the first 3 episodes of that live action Netflix Avatar, and, it was definitely one of the shows of all time. And at this point, I'm just looking forward to more Avatar stuff. I think that Avatar is one of my favorite um, television shows ever made. You can't see them behind my computer. I have commission drawn little square paintings of the main characters from
Little
that show.
candles and like offerings and incense
It's
about
not,
for the Almighty Aang
yeah,
and
my summoning circle. Um, did I just buy all of the Avatar skins in Fortnite last week? Yes, I did. I'll do it again. I bought all of them. I bought Toph, Zuko, Katara. I bought the Lang Pass. I'll do it again if they add more characters because I love this universe. It's my favorite. I just found out that there's an Avatar TTRPG, so now I'm trying to run like an Avatar one shot. I love this universe. The only thing I need now, Greg, is for anybody to make a good Avatar video game. This is getting off topic, but please, I'm begging anyone. What do we have to do? It doesn't. It could be an action game. It can be an RPG, turn based. It can be a visual novel at this point. Somebody. Why is it that the only Avatar video games we've gotten have been nigh unplayable or achievement farms on the Xbox 360? What are we
it's
doing?
it's the 2 year development time or like the year and a half of development time. They just need to give it 4 years to cook and then they'll get one, I think, and then you'll get one.
Just unironically, the bending because they put the Fortnite characters in or the Avatar characters in Fortnite, and they also added bending as like rare like weapons you can use. Unironically, the best Avatar game is me shooting fire in Fortnite. What are we doing, guys? Get the shit together. Um, then he says, delays are rough, but I'd rather have it delayed when it comes to animated projects and the animators being overworked. Spider-Verse going through the same thing. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we're beyond Spider-Verse. If that movie comes out next year, I'll fall out of my seat in shock. But that's probably also coming out in 2026, if I had to guess. And then Avatar. Yeah, same here. Like I said earlier, I know I made a joke of it, but like Avatar: The Last Airbender ended in 2009. So if you're telling me I have to wait an extra 3 months for the movie, I just do not care. That's fine. I'll wait. That's fine. I have no issue with that. This universe has been dead and quiet for so many years that not a big deal.
You know, it's funny. I have a friend who is a big Avatar fan too, and I asked her about the show, and she was like, "Oh, I loved it." She's like, "I'm glad they got all the kid stuff out of the way." It's like,
Here, here's what I'll say about the live action Avatar. I don't think it's good, but I do. I think some of the criticism is overblown in the sense that like a lot of people are mad that like where's the scene from the animated show or that's not what that character said in the animated show or like this arc is being like switched with that other one. I think all that stuff is fine because at the end of the day, like it's an adaptation, right? Like it's not a remake of the show. It's not like a one to one. Like that's the stuff that we shit on studios for, right? When they take an old movie or show and they're like, let's recreate that shot and that line, and let's just do it again, but with new cameras. Like they changed things. They adapted the story. They tried to do something new with it. And do I think it did a great job? Not really, no. But I don't think it's bad because like they don't say the same voice lines or because the intro is different. I just think it's bad because it's not a good TV show. I think that the acting is abhorrent all around. But they tried, and that show's got renewed for 2 more seasons. So buckle up if you didn't not like the first
buckle
season of
up.
that show.
They're going to be winning
Yeah.
Academy Awards by season 15, so they
Oh
better
boy.
be.
Hey, they did some good things. I still think that Suki and that show is great. Love Suki. I thought Jet and that show was great. They really hit on some of those side characters, which I also thought was pretty cool because
You know,
they're kind of the beating heart of a lot of the smaller arcs.
it's funny, and I think it's a combination of like an age and a maturity thing. Like eventually, because like there would have been a point where I would have taken something like Avatar and like they remade it live action TV and hated everything because they changed too much or they didn't include the scene or they messed up a character. Like I used to care so much about that stuff, and I find myself just kind of like shrugging more as my old age. I'm like, yeah, whatever, you know. Was it like if it's
Yeah.
not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea. No sense wasting energy getting upset about it, you know. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the original Avatar animated show is also on Netflix. You can just watch it, which is exactly what I did. I just sat there and watched like 4 episodes. It just like cleansed my palate. I was like, "I
Yeah,
love the
yeah, I
show."
do that
I just
sometimes
went back
too.
to what I was
Yeah, I
doing.
do that. But most of the
There you
turtle
go.
stuff, I have to rewatch the '90s movie because I'm like, oh, I just have to. Not that I get mad about. It, I'm
Mhm.
just like, okay, I need to watch something that I. Oh, there it is. That's good. That's good. Turtles.
That's good turtles. Yeah, I mean, the original stuff is there. So yes, Avatar movie is in the works. I'm looking forward to the new Avatar movie. I cannot wait for that shit.
What do you want
Pumping
to see
percolating in
from
my
it? What do you
veins.
want to see them include
Oh, that's such a good point.
in this movie
Okay,
or the series
I'll
or
tell you exactly
movies?
what I wanna see. I have a perfect answer for this. I wanna see the forming of Republic City. So, Greg, as you may know, Avatar is very, like, I don't know if I'd say fantasy or medieval, but it's like old world. Like, there's not technology in Avatar. It's like
They describe it as
people are
a
like
Bronze Age, right? That's what they describe the world as. I think, right?
sure, whatever you call it. But it's like people are still like writing notes with like quivers and like and quills and shit, is what I'm saying, right? But by the end of the show, like they're starting to get to like the industrial age. Like you can see like they're like motors and stuff people
And
are making when
trains,
the show
yeah,
ends. Yeah, but then you get to the Legend of Korra, which is the sequel show, which takes place, like I said earlier, like 60, 70 years later. And it's full industrial revolution. There are cars, there are trains, there are like steam engines, and it's like this evolution of the technology in that world. And there's a city, like the main town in the first season of Legend of Korra is called Republic City, and it's pretty much like New York, but in Avatar, they're like tall buildings, all this stuff. Like Avatar had huts, so this is like a huge change. And a piece of lore you get about Republic City is that Aang helped found it as like a neutral location. It's not Fire Nation, it's not Water Nation, Earth, or Air. It's just like a neutral place where everybody kind of coexists, benders, non-benders, whoever. And it's just like this central focal point location in that world. And it's very pivotal to the story because so many people live there in Legend of Korra. I would love to see like how Republic City got formed, uh, maybe some of they talk about like Aang having to like stop some of the villains. There's this like bloodbender who like tried to take Aang's bending from him that they show in a flashback in Legend of Korra. All that stuff I think would be really interesting to see explored. Yeah, there's a lot you could do there. Also, spoilers, I guess, for the Last Airbender, but like Aang and Katara end up having like 3 or 4 kids. I would love to see like them as little children because in Legend of Korra, Aang's kids are like 60 years old because it's set in the future. So I'd love to see them when they were young, learning their bending. He has a son who can't bend, which I thought was such an interesting idea that your dad was the Avatar. He could bend all 4 elements and you can't do shit. But he's still such a like he. But then he like ends up being like his strongest kid. So many like threads that they left there between those shows to go back and explore, which is why usually I hate when they announce a movie and they're like, we're doing a trilogy. But you know what? In this case, worth. There's so much there. Do it. Why not? Why not? Um, but yeah, that's those are my thoughts. I'm looking forward to it. I like uh I like the Avatar a lot. I'm a big Avatar fan.
have you finished the Netflix series?
No.
I can't do it. Can't do it. He tried. He tried. At least he tried. At least you could say he watched a few, right? You
I
can't.
wasn't gonna watch it at all.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna watch episode 1. I watched the first 3 episodes, and I'm just yeah, no, just don't need to, just doesn't need to be
See, it was
I
weird
got
for
I
me
got
because I came in the opposite spectrum. I'd never even seen the show until I saw the M Night Shyamalan movie first. So then I went back and watched the show and realized why the movie was
that's no
bad.
good. That's no good. Did you know, I just learned this recently, that there's a character the actress who played in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, the old, like, 2010 Avatar live action movie that everybody hates, the actress that played Princess Yue, who was, like, at the Northern Water Tribe, she's, like, Sokka's love interest. That actress, they cast her in The Legend of Korra because Legend of Korra came out after, like, the live action movie. They cast her as like one of the main characters in that show, and she went on to be beloved in the show. She plays a character named Asami, who's like one of the main members of the group. But I just always loved that fact. I just learned this like a couple years ago, but just the idea that like this young like she was like 12 in that M Night Shyamalan movie, and she got shit on for being in that movie, like everybody that was in it got shit on. And then the people who actually made the Avatar show brought her in to the animated world to play this new character, and now people love her because that character is great in the animated show. I just like when people get those redemption arcs because obviously the live action Avatar movie was not her fault. That was somebody else's fault who we'll discuss very soon. But Before we do that, let's introduce a brand new segment called Reactions. Now, reactions is kind of just for us to give our quick hit, like, oh, this is terrible. I hate this. I love this. Not spend too much time dwelling on things, but just kind of covering some more stuff, things that people want to hear us discover or talk about. And both of these reactions are going to come from the one and only Denny Von Doom, our community manager here at Shacknews. Greg, first one, we rarely talk about comic books on this show, probably because I don't think either of us read them that much these days. But they're making an Alien versus Avengers comic. 20th Century Studios, Marvel Entertainment, all owned by the same parent company now, of course. We got to cover. Is this Alex Ross? This art? Oh, it's
No, it's not
Assad
Alex
Ribic.
Ross.
Okay,
There's no way
it
that's
looks
Alex
it
Ross.
looks it looks kind of like his style. It's Assad Ribic. It's written by Jonathan Hickman though. Hickman's goaded. He's a legendary comic writer. I I'll say that I love that the craziest crossovers live in comic books. Like people don't I don't think people realize that. Like you get your crossover movies, right? Like Alien vs Predator. But Alien vs Predator gets so much crazier in the comics. Freddy vs Jason is like a crazy movie, but there's Freddy vs. Jason comics that just go off the rails. They bring in like other horror characters. They're doing weird fourth wall breaking shit. It's very bizarre. So Avengers vs. Aliens, sure, why not? Who doesn't want to see Iron Man fire a repulsor at a goddamn I don't know, fucking xenomorph, Queen xenomorph. I'm not sure what the story is here, but I guess you don't really need one. They said in space, no one can hear you scream. Avengers assemble. That's good. That's good. That's good. Greg, you gonna pick this one up?
Eh, I mean, like, if anyone knows me on the show with like the comic stuff, like I hate the space stuff in comics. Like, I don't like
You
it.
hate
Like,
space.
I don't like it when X-Men go
Oh,
to
that's because
space. I don't like it when Ninja Turtles go to
you're a
space. I don't like it when
fantasy.
Power
That's because
Rangers
you're a
go to
fantasy
space.
guy.
I don't like it when Avengers go to
You would
space. I like low
you would just rather
stakes.
everybody go back in time to the fantasy world where they are riding dragons and putting people in the clink.
I think the hard thing with Avengers specifically is their villains. Like your villains scale with your abilities, right? Like you look at Batman and Spider-Man, right? And look at Superman. All those
Right.
villains are different. They're all like scaled, and some Superman villains are a little more creative, but I don't know. Like I just don't. I feel like they're just gonna plow through the aliens. Like I mean, what chance does an alien have against Iron Man's Mach 28,000 suit or Miss Marvel, like who's invincible? Like I don't know who. Like how I don't know how do you make it threatening? How do they make it engaging? Same thing with Superman, right? Like I'm sure there'll be some comic books are really they're low risk. It's a low risk thing. They can do whatever they want because if no one likes it, they're only out like 6 mini issues. You know what I mean? It's not like a movie
Right.
where a movie takes like 4 years to make and you spend millions of dollars and then makes $100,000 at the box office. It's a lot. You can take more liberties, and I'm sure there are people who really like Aliens and really like Avengers, and like you'll get both sides of the demographic. No, I mean like it's harmless. I think it's harmless. There's a ton of crossovers, ton of stories. A harmless little story. If you like Aliens, you'll for sure pick it up. That's
Yeah,
basically my
that'd be
take on
fun.
it. Like little
So do
harmless.
you hate the Fantastic Four, Greg? Because they're like from space. So do you just hate those guys?
I like them when they're on Earth. Like I don't like them when they go to planets. I just don't like it when they go to planets.
Sicken me.
Well,
Still,
because
though, I do
like
think it's cool that Hickman's involved with this because he did like Secret Wars, a bunch of like the old, like, not old, but modern like X-Men stuff that people like, House of X, all that.
was it how I've never read House of X. I remember House of M was the big one that when I grew up that I read. That was the big.
House of X was 2019. That was more recent, but that was also a good little arc that I read like 30% of.
I mean, like
Um,
it's harmless. It's a harmless comic crossover. Like these things happen like 10 times a month. You know what I mean? Like these things that they're always doing weird
they do these a
stuff in
lot,
the
yeah.
comics and Transformers and X Men and Marvel and DC. Like they're always doing weird crossovers. There was the one that was really popular that featured one of my one of my favorite artists, Freddie Williams, was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman. That was a weird crossover. It was very
Oh hell
weird,
yeah.
very weird, but it was very
Mhm.
successful. It was super successful.
Oh,
They
that's
even
the
made
one
an
that gave it the meme where he's like, "This is where the robber killed my parents, Raphael or whatever." Batman was fucking
something like
silly.
that. Yeah, yeah. So like, I mean, my Freddie Williams II, one of my favorite artists, did a bunch of Batman stuff when I was in
Yeah.
college. Like, it really picked up. Like, it really, really picked up. So like, I mean, this happens all the time, and it's harmless. It doesn't really affect. Like, there is no cinematic arc, especially with all these like different universes and stories going on. But I think that's why like small stories work best for me in comics because like there is no like the world's gonna blow up. Okay, how do you get bigger than that? Okay, the universe is gonna go blow up. Okay, how do you get bigger than that? Okay, all life in the universe is gonna blow up. Like where do you go from all life will be destroyed? You know what I mean? Like there's no place up to go. So like when you have your grounded stories, there's more place to go up. So again, I don't know how they'll fight the aliens. I mean, is it just like 10 pages of them
Very
ripping through
carefully.
them without any issue? So I don't know. I
We'll have
don't
to
know.
see. That acid's dangerous, man. Don't let it touch you. Squire says I've seen the anime of TMNT and Batman, I believe. Yeah, they made that an animated thing. I remember that.
Yeah, they made a movie about it.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay. On to our next reaction. Don't need to spend too much time talking Aliens vs. Avengers. Here's one I have been looking forward to discussing though. M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. His next movie is called Trap, all caps TRAPE. Jesus, I have to misspell Trap, TRAP. It's coming out later this year, and we got our first trailer for it. It stars Josh Hartnett. It's about him taking his daughter to a concert, and then he discovers that there's apparently a serial killer at that concert, and that the police are crawling all over that thing, trying to catch that serial killer. But oh baby, as the trailer reveals to us, that serial killer is Josh Hartnett, or so we think. Can I just say, I know you have thoughts on this, Greg, but I have some thoughts. So I gotta say some things. All right, so look, the trailer shows him like finding out that like the police are trying to get the serial killer that's at this concert apparently, and then he goes to the bathroom and then he looks on his phone and he looks at his like security and he's got like a dude locked up in his basement, and it's like okay, obviously Josh Hartnett is playing the killer. Like that's the whole thing. Like he's the killer, and he knows that the police are trying to get him. So now it's like this contained thriller of him trying to get out of this concert venue without getting caught for being a serial killer. Also, he's got like his 12-year-old daughter with him. A lot of people are like, "Oh, another trailer that gives away the whole movie." Have you people never seen an M. Night Shyamalan movie before? Do you think that he would give you his twist in a trailer? No, he wouldn't. It might not be a good twist, but he is going to keep it under wraps. I guarantee you, this like reveal here, this conversation he's having with the dude, and then he goes and looks at his phone. I promise you, this is like 30 minutes into the movie. That is not the reveal at the end of the movie that he's the killer. In fact, I bet you he's probably not the killer. The reveal is going to be that the dude in his basement's the killer, and this guy's like some Batman vigilante who's been hunting down serial killers and shit. Because that's the kind of stuff that M. Night does. I think that one, I've been looking forward to seeing something in this movie when they announced it, because they announced it after what's an
CinemaCon.
event? Well, they talked about it at CinemaCon, but they announced this after Knock at the Cabin, which is his last movie, which came out beginning of last year, I think. And Knock at the Cabin was great. That was a really good end of the world apocalyptic thriller. I love that movie. So it was right after that he was like, "Oh, I'm already cooking up my next thing. It's called Trap." And then there were reports that it's like, "Oh, it's going to be something at a concert venue. It's going to be some bad stuff happening." Now we got our trailer for it. I think the vibes look good. I think they capture like the concert atmosphere well. So I think that the trailer, am I watching the trailer like, oh my God, this is going to be the best movie of the year? No. But here's what I will say. I have very strong thoughts about M. Night Shyamalan as a filmmaker. And I'm going to quote a tweet I read earlier from John Squires, who writes for Bloody Disgusting. He's their editor in chief. I will never, ever not be excited about a new M. Night Shyamalan movie. He's blown my mind. He's disappointed me. But there's undeniably in Anything is Possible event feel to a Shyamalan movie that cannot be replicated by anyone else. As always, I'm mighty intrigued. That's my thing, right? So like I grew up watching like Signs, all of these random ass like M. Night Shyamalan movies. And I liked a lot of them and I didn't like a lot of them. But there's something so unique about when this dude makes movies that's just like anybody else who makes them. And I think that living in a world where everybody's so hypercritical of media and movie franchises, and everyone's like, give us something original. We're tired of these blockbuster franchise movies. This is a filmmaker who, for the last 25 years, has done nothing but produce original after original after original movie. Um, some hits, some misses, but who's constantly just brought something new and interesting every time he's made a movie. There's nobody that makes movies that feel like M. Night Shyamalan movies. He's really one of one, and I just respect that for as a filmmaker. Just that alone, I'm always interested in what he's making. He has done the sequel thing. He went back and did like Glass
And
after he made
Split.
Split and whatnot. Yeah, but more often than not, he's always put out something like interesting. And again, it's for me, it's about concepts. I just think that the concept, the log line for this movie, serial killer stuck at a concert, blah blah blah. Like I think that sounds interesting, and it's a movie that I'm gonna watch and check out. Now, I said Knock at the Cabin was great. that came out last year. His movie before that was Old in 2021. And that movie was so bad. It was so unwatchably bad. I hated Old, but I watched it opening weekend because I'm always curious about what M Night's doing, and I know he does his plot twist thing. He loves that bit. I would say Knock the Cabin didn't even really go like Knock the Cabin doesn't really have a gotcha twist at the end of it.
Well, the
It
twist
has
of
a
that is
couple of
like,
little wrinkles.
is it real? Is like, if would killing one of the
Yeah,
people actually stop it? That's the twist, right? That's the question that you
yeah,
find out at the end. Like, if it
mhm,
really was real or not. Like, that's the twist.
yeah. But there's no like you don't zoom out and they're like in a simulation in some like snowball on like some guy's countertop, and there's nothing like mind breaking about it, like he's done with some of his movies. Um, so yeah, that's all I'll say. Also, Josh Hartnett coming off of Oppenheimer, he was in that movie for like 20 minutes. Now he's starring in a M Night Shyamalan thriller. So I'm intrigued. That's my official take. Ooh, August 9th. That's sooner than I thought this was coming out.
My initial reaction was like he was a cop, and like before I saw the twist of the
Ooh,
thing, and I don't
whoa.
know. Like I have a really like the problem is like there's certain things that like I really fixate on. You got to bring me into the world, right? You got to bring me into the world. You got to make this situation believable. And I don't think that any world would cops risk the lives of 20,000 minors to catch one guy. Like what was the plan here? You just starve them all to death in the thing.
That
And,
assumes
like
that assumes
what?
competence in the police force.
What was the plan? Like you lock the building down and what? Like what you one at
And
a
nobody
time
gets out.
scan people with a metal. I don't. What do you what like? What was the plan? Like I don't understand. This seems like
That's
such
why
a
I see
haphazard, terrible plan, and I'm just I
that's
can't get
that's why
sucked
you
into
gotta
it
see
for
the
that
movie.
reason. Yeah.
Hey, maybe there's a reason in the movie, but look, we have
Oh
a
my God!
guest
It's the man with the
appearance
briefcase is here. He's
coming
here.
in WrestleMania style. Were you moved by the trailer for Trap that you want to come say your piece about it? What's up?
No, that's not it
Uh
at all. Uh, I just finished recording the podcast, so I was like, I wonder if Pop Goes the Culture's still on, and it was.
mhm.
It
So I
was.
was like, oh. I told you guys in the live stream channel that this weekend I watched a movie that was
Oh
inspired
yes.
by
So
this show.
that's right. Was it? Well, you introduced yourself. You did say that.
So yeah, I watched Lamageddon. Because everyone was talking about, oh, you got to get on Amazon Prime Video and watch this new thing. So I fire
Okay.
up Video. You know what's not there? It
Oh, you
wasn't
have
the
to rent
Fallout
it.
show. No, this
Oh,
was free. This was free to watch,
oh, okay,
Donovan.
okay.
And you know how
As
like you
long
have
as
to watch ads in the movies now?
Yes.
There was no ads. They
unfortunately.
couldn't even monetize this movie. That's how bad it is. So I was in this mood where I just wanted to shut off my brain for 70 minutes. This movie is
Oh yeah.
69 minutes long. It is not a mistake that it's 69 minutes long. So instead of reviewing it, because no one's going to watch this, and I don't think you should, I want to
Right.
just kind of give you my detailed notes of what I
Detailed
saw.
notes. Okay.
I have detailed notes here.
Lamageddon, 2015's Lamageddon. I have not seen this movie. I did not tell you to watch this movie. As I'm gonna
No,
go to the record now.
you
I
guys
have
told
no.
me at some point you were like maybe you should just review bad movies
We
for
did,
us.
yes. I did say you should watch a really shitty movie and then review it. That's true.
So that's what I'm here to do. So this is Lamageddon. I will say the first death scene was pretty solid.
Mhm.
They use the same B-roll for lightning throughout the entire movie, so there's only one lightning
Okay,
strike throughout the entire film.
They use
that's
Video
Uh,
Copilot effects. I have those effects on my system. The fire.
so
what is this
then
trailer?
it's outstanding, is what it is. So they have a funeral very early in the film because I think your grandparents die. The llama kills your grandparents, and you inherit the farm from them, or like the daughter and son do. So they have this funeral scene, but it's just B-roll of a cemetery with no funeral
Holy shit, holy
happening
shit.
at all. So it's just like this really wide shot of a cemetery, and that's the funeral scene. Uh, the mom drives a Honda Element, so I thought that was something of note. There was a dude. There were two montages in the first 18 minutes of this film. One of which was just a girl calling people on the phone, telling them to come over for a party. That took way too
Okay.
long. There's also a helicopter scene That had to have been the majority of the
I saw
budget.
the helicopter. No.
There's a black screen that shows up after the beginning, and it just says the word time lapse on it. Like, it doesn't say like X amount of days later, X amount of no, just time lapse.
Did they just like forget to
Uh,
take it out in the movie or something? Was it one of the things that
it
they
could have
submitted and then
been.
didn't edit it out?
It could be correct. You're
Insert
right.
time lapse here.
Placeholder
You're like,
screen.
whoa.
It's just time lapse in black and white time lapse. So you've seen this beer pong scene a couple times in this trailer. They had house rules for the beer pong game where you have to take your pants off if you make a shot. So this movie shoehorns in 3 really, really awkward sex scenes. And one of them is driven by this beer pong thing. There is a scene where the stoners, you saw the stoners, right? They were arguing about which Evil Dead movie was the best. And the girl, the female stoner, she said that Army of Darkness was better. And one guy was like the original Evil Dead, and the other one was saying Evil Dead 2. So I thought them arguing about Evil Dead was one of the more interesting parts. There's one girl in this film who was like legitimately devastated about Pluto not being a planet anymore, and that was a thing. And it was really just a vehicle for a Uranus joke, which is not that surprising. There was like a random smooth jazz dance segment, like way too long. So yeah, for 2 montages in the first 18 minutes. Right after that, the llama smokes weed with one of the dudes at the party, bites his hand off, and then punches through his chest so his heart lands in his girlfriend's hands, and then she dies too. With laser eyes. Did I mention the llama has laser eyes?
Of course he
You know,
does.
you didn't, but I saw that from the trailer. I did glean that much.
Okay.
Um,
So yeah, the llama smokes weed. There was way too many zoomed in mouth shots. Like that. Like way way too close. like a lot. Like a lot of zoomed in mouth shots, Greg. Like way too many.
Everyone in this trailer at the end of a take is on the verge from breaking down and laughing, and I love every
So
minute
there's
of
that
this.
guy holding the bat there.
yeah.
That scene had so many inaccuracies and like continuity issues. There are times where there's a dog with them. They never mention the dog in the movie, but there's a dog in some of the chase scene. Some of the chase scene, the dog is not there. The dude's shirt, I swear to God, that dude with the bat, his shirt changes like 6 times during the movie. And at the very end, he's wearing like a Star Trek ensign shirt. And of course he dies. But before he died, there was a really awkward handshake between him and the girl who runs a party, like her house, her boyfriend. Like clearly, dude likes girl. It's a love triangle going on here. There's a scene you keep seeing this hot tub, right? You see the hot tub scene, Donovan. You've seen it a couple times.
Mhm.
The llama electrocutes like 80% of the people in the movie in that hot tub. But that's
you
not.
just see them getting zapped there in the trailer.
But that's not the dumb part, Donovan. 2 more people walk in. Okay, the hot tub is electrified. Everyone in the hot tub is like convulsing and dead. Right? 2 more people get in. They like just get in and die instantly. It was bafflingly bad. Yeah, 2 kids walk into it just while other people are clearly already dead, and they jump into the hot tub to also die. That was baffling to me. There was a gratuitous amount of blood and vomit in this film. So much so that apparently if you get vomited on, it turns you into a llama. So her boyfriend transformed into a llama. And the boyfriend transfers into a llama. There's a dog. I mentioned the dog. I mentioned the Star Trek shirt. So yeah, the guy with the Star Trek shirt dies. They call their dad, who is cheating on their mom throughout the entire movie. Like he's like definitely a bad dude. He shows up with a shotgun. He gets out of the car and like there's lasers. The llama's shooting lasers at people. This is my favorite line in the film. He goes, "Damn kids and their laser beams." Like that's just a thing you would say. Uh, so the boyfriend llama gives birth to like llama eggs, which we all know llamas don't lay eggs, but maybe alien llamas do. This scene took
Right.
15 minutes. Like
In a
15 minutes.
69-minute movie?
15 minutes were dedicated to the birth of these eggs. And it was so long and so awkward. Far too long. There's a baby alien llama that does appear out of one of the eggs. The dad finds the kid. I guess he's half llama, half kid at that point, and he just kills everyone. He kills everything in that room with a shotgun. There's blood
Right.
everywhere. I did want to point out that they did kill the llama, or attempted to kill the llama at the end of it using a like a combine, one of those like farm equipment things. I do want to
Yeah.
point out not a John Deere, so minus points there for not being John Deere. The dad dies. As he's dying, he's like, "Tell your mother she's a dirty, rotten whore." That's like his last words.
Sick.
So that's it. That's that's all. Those are my detailed notes from
This
Blamageddon.
Nobody tell us about Sharknado or Shocked Octopus. He's gonna go watch those next
No, I
immediately.
know. You think I don't know about Sharknado? Seriously, that helicopter though, it's got to be like 90% of their budget.
It's like a little R-22 helicopter. Like, yeah, they probably knew someone that had one.
You think? You think
Yeah.
they actually just knew someone?
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, this movie looks like a bad
Those aren't
dream.
one of the most cheapest and most dangerous types of helicopters to like fly because they're so tiny.
Yeah, that too, right?
I don't know. I
Oh,
feel
yeah,
that this
so
gives
the
me like Sharknado vibes, right? The really over the top,
No.
terrible. No,
Sharknado had famous people in it.
That's true.
That's true.
Like this,
That's true.
name a person in this film. You can't. There's no one. It's
There's
just
the
a
close
bunch
mouth
of
shots stuff you
nobodies.
love. The close mouth shots.
I
you're
do want
talking
to point out though, the transformation of the son at the beginning of the film till the end, he has sex, right? There's several sex scenes in this. He has sex and he just transforms from like complete douche canoe to like, I know everything. And it's like the way that they use that kid. The way that they use his virginity as like a vehicle for jokes and pushing the story forward with something. It does look like it was a film school project. Denny asked how many drugs were involved shooting this. I don't know. There were definitely drugs involved in watching this. You saw the time lapse.
I'm trying to find it again. I thought this was just going to show clips, but it's actually a guy on the screen talking now.
Yeah, it's,
Uh,
you're watching a Dead Meat video. I love this channel, but this is not like a clip show. This is like they talk about
Yeah, I
the
thought it was a
movie.
kill. Like I've done the kill count one where they just go through and they count the kills instead of like having inter segments. I thought, but that's okay. I mean, it's just it's a school. It's a low budget film project. That's all it is. I mean, it's I don't know how it got on Amazon. Like
That's my point.
I don't have no
How-
idea.
Not only how did it get on Amazon, how do I fire up Prime, which I don't know if I probably since Invincible, I haven't used the app. Like,
Yeah.
why was this like number 3 on the things on my screen? Like, how are they like, he needs to watch this?
You know, it's definitely one of those that have developed like a cult status
Yeah.
to it now, where like it was this terrible movie that came out, and now people love to talk about it. Um, I've heard of this movie before. I've seen videos about it, but I've not watched a second of Lamageddon.
I did say this in our Slack chat. I laughed more during this film than I have during the last 3 Dave Chappelle comedy specials that I've watched.
Then the film succeeded
believe that.
in doing its
I
job,
believe
right?
that. Yeah,
It's a combination of Dave Chappelle just not really being funny anymore, but also like this movie is like, it's so bad that it like circles around to being amazing. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, this is so terrible that I am laughing my ass off at how bad it is. There's the zoomed in, you see the zoomed in mouth shots.
yeah.
Way too many of those. Like far too many mouth
Oh,
shots.
she's like rubbing her lips. What? Oh,
You see
what?
Hey, this is awkward stuff here.
What is happening in this movie?
Yeah.
So, not looking at that.
Yeah. Anyway, the 3 sex scenes, which I think we're actually watching right now. I don't know how this happened, but yes, Wamageddon, you should be scared. And I did this as a public service so that you wouldn't have to watch it.
Everybody looks like
Thank
they're having
you.
fun on set though, so I can appreciate that. Like they're all having a blast. I think that's great.
I'm sure they did. And look, hats off to them for making a movie, That's great.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do. I'm sure that was very difficult. But this is definitely one of them ones.
The
So,
hot
okay.
tub scene, though, the death,
So
it's the amount of people who died in that hot tub. It felt like they were running out of film, so they're like, I don't know, we'll just put everyone in a hot tub and they'll die.
do you do you think this movie will be better or worse than Evil Bong, which is what I vote is the next movie?
That's right. Yeah,
That's
you
my
wanted me to
official.
watch Evil Bong. I
Which is
think this will be
Evil Bong's
better.
much older.
This will be better than Evil Bong, is my guess.
Okay.
But
I
yeah,
mean, you
I had to come in, derail the show, and yeah, this is the part where these two girls get in as everyone's already dying. It's like, what are you doing? Why would you do that?
you be
Like everyone's convulsing. They're like, "Oh, we should get in the pool." And then this guy, yeah, he loses. That's the guy with the multiple shirts. Like you see him. You've seen it, Greg. He has like
They
this is one
That's gotta
night.
be intentional. They have to be just fucking with you
Yeah,
at
it
that
is. It
point.
is. It
Like,
definitely is. Yeah, see, he
they're
switches
Well,
just
again.
like,
Yeah.
obviously, when he's suddenly wearing a Star Trek shirt. Come on.
that's just funny.
Yeah.
You'd be really shocked at some of the jobs that modern day directors have gotten based on movies like this. I think of like Peter Jackson. This first the early stuff he did looked like this. God, we talk about James Gunn. Oh my god, like all the trauma stuff he did. Like this was not like high budget
Mhm.
AAA
No.
artsy filmmaking, right? It was like over the top, ridiculous. Kids having a good time, filming a movie every Sunday for 6 months. You know what I mean? Like that's what this is. Yeah, I love every bit of it. I don't know. They had to have paid Amazon because like 14 or 15 years ago, I talked to someone who did Darkness Rising, which is a great film. Everyone should watch that. But I found it on Netflix and they took it off. And I asked the editor why they took it off, and Netflix wanted $15,000 to keep it on. It was at the time where Netflix was starting to get more popular. So I wonder if they had paid Amazon to be put on their service so like more people, and they could recommend it to people like Asif and waste an hour and a half.
There you go.
It was
Well,
not.
there you go. Okay. I mean, now that you've watched it, the Amazon algorithm's like, "Oh, we got him." Like this is his
Llamageddon
movie.
1, Llamageddon
So
2, Llamageddon 3,
yeah,
Return of the
yeah. Next time you
Revenge.
log in, it's
It
gonna be
does seem
all.
like there could be a sequel. I don't know. Is there a sequel?
I don't know. This is gonna be huge. No, there's no Llamageddon 2.
There isn't.
Although they have made other stuff though. A
Alpacalypse.
is yeah okay, which was like
So
announced last year. Is it out though?
Yeah.
yeah, Alpacalypse is the spiritual successor to Llamageddon. Apparently, I
Jesus.
love alpacas. So I might watch it. James Cox, co-creator of Llamageddon, has reached out to Bloody Disgusting with the following statement regarding Alpacalypse. Fans and friends are reaching out regarding Alpacalypse Indiegogo campaign, and some clarity is needed. The director Howie chose to begin the sequel without informing me. Jacques MF, the actor who played Floyd, co-writer and art director, and other creators and contributors, including the cinematographer. We didn't know he had started shooting until the Indiegogo went live, so it's not the same team. From the look of the teaser, it
Yeah.
sadly appears that he's using parts of the script 3 of us co-creators wrote.
Wow, we got a drama. We've like
There's drama
uncovered
here.
a scandal here.
Yeah, we have uncovered like serious Hollywood
Ooh.
chicanery. I shouldn't say Hollywood because this is clearly not Hollywood.
No,
The campaign also seems to use parts of the launch strategy we had discussed. We spent a lot of time and effort planning out our trilogy, only to be blindsided. Oh man. Furthermore, as Indiegogo does not state the reality of the situation, there are supporters that assume it's the original team and are troubled to learn otherwise. This ordeal is causing confusion, disappointment, and distress for a lot of people. Wow.
wow. Look at what success does. Look at how success corrupts people, even on an indie micro budget level. How fast these people turned on each other after they made one cult hit movie for like
I mean,
fifteen
This is
thousand
that
dollars.
scene. This is the extended birth scene. Like way too long. Way too long.
I love X-Men said all I took from that was trilogy.
Trilogy.
It's like they spent a lot of time planning out a trilogy. A trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's your I don't know if you guys want to segmentize this or whatever, but Asif reviews terrible movies. Yeah. There's your
Yeah,
there's my first report. I had to come in, uh,
please.
which is obviously a difficult. I was juggling three things this afternoon. We reported on Netflix earnings while I was recording a podcast, and then I decided to stop over here.
The whole time you were thinking Alamageddon. That was
I,
what
wa-
was sitting right
I
there at the
had to get
forefront.
this out, man, because I'm like, the people need to know. I think you guys need to know. You guys
Yeah.
talk about all the fancy big budget stuff, but I'm out here in the
Yeah.
streets, pounding the
Boots
pavement.
boots on the ground.
Yeah. And this is the kind of movie that in high school I would have made with my friends. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
Mhm.
I did not hate it at all. And like I said, funnier than Dave Chappelle's last three specials combined. So if you just want to laugh at
Jesus.
something, wow, this guy really went in depth in this video. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
Lamageddon.
they dig in.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just
Just
having
look at
fun. I
these
love it.
names, man. Richard Symbols, Chet Stedman. Like these are names of actors that
Yeah.
you've definitely heard of.
The
A lot of
llama's
people
name
pulling
was
double and
Cookie.
triple duty. It's cute.
Yeah, and they mentioned that no llamas were hurt during the filming of it, just the integrity of everyone involved or something. It's like actually what it says at the end of the movie.
Yeah. I
So yeah,
mean, that ended up being a prescient statement because they, like, collapsed in on themselves after that movie, apparently. So,
yeah.
wow.
Wait, they
Well, I'm
have it
looking
on
forward to the next
Amazon for
one.
$1 million. You can purchase it for $1 million.
I don't know. The question of how it ended up on Amazon Prime is really a
Yeah.
good one because I don't
That
know.
that begs investigation.
Because like I
There's
don't
a lot
think
of that
things.
stuff, I feel like. They have a lot of, like, random small budget stuff you've never heard
I
of that
mean, you
just is,
could.
like,
There's
on their
like the
service.
way that
Probably just the hosting fee, right?
there's a there
You probably
is
just
there
put
there
stuff on
wasn't
Prime.
always a fee like before like Netflix. This was 14 years ago. Before Netflix took off, like they were looking for stuff to put on their platform digitally because obviously you can't, like, all the big stuff wanted streaming rights. They were working that stuff out, so like they were just grabbing films and throwing them up after
Wait,
like a.
Greg, on the screen it says $1 million to buy it. Is
Yes.
that
I don't know.
what?
I don't know. Check it out. Is that it is? Like if they can recoup that cost, maybe a Post Malone will be like, yeah, whatever, click.
Are they trying to sell the movie for $1 million on Prime?
I don't know. Maybe someone look at Prime. I
I'm
can switch it
investigating this actively. No, it's currently $8 to buy, so that might have been, like, a temporary stunt that they did when it came out.
What?
It's 8
Where
bucks.
did you find that, Greg?
It's on the
This is in the video that, he had pulled
Okay,
up. Yeah.
from
okay, that's
the
got to
But
video
be
we have
why.
it
is the
muted, so they
Deadbeat channel.
probably yeah, yeah. I'm sure that was probably, like, a marketing stunt they did when this came out because 'cause it's been almost a decade now since Armageddon dropped. But,
Okay, so there you go, guys. I did it. It
wow.
took me like I don't know when you guys mentioned this project to me, but I finally did one. I do think my sweet spot is under 90 minutes. Like I don't want to waste
Oh, yeah,
like
no, no, no. A movie
2
like
hours.
this
Yeah.
was
This
yeah,
is like
sweet spot.
this is my sweet spot. And I've gotten to the point where I've watched the Mario movie maybe too many times. So like I'm not that's not just my go-to right now. So I'm like kind of looking around for things to watch. Had a
Something
great
to
time with
reset.
Invincible. Had a great time with Resident Alien, which you guys never talk about on the show at all. But Resident Alien's awesome. Go watch it, folks. Folks at home, watch that thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, I'll cook up another one. It may take a few weeks, but I wanted to come and share with the folks at home and let them know what to expect from it. But
Yeah,
it's pretty solid.
like you said earlier, this has to become a recurring segment. I imagine it won't be every week, but whenever
No,
you you get around to watching
it
one
has
of
to
these
like
one of these
it has to be
movies.
this perfect storm of me having free time, me being available to come on your show, and
Yeah.
like yeah, we'll figure it out. And maybe
Mhm.
it'll be like a Back in Black kind of segment, like on the Daily Show, where it's not an every week thing. It just kind of shows up when I have something to say.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fair.
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, I'll let
I
you
like
guys
that.
get back to the show. I'm sorry I've derailed
That's
you
funny.
again.
No, please. Anytime. That was great. I was not expecting to get a Llamageddon review today. I was waiting.
I hinted at it on the staff
You
call
did
this
say
week.
you watched it, and I don't know why that just went right out. I was like,
He was
"What?"
like, Don was like, he's not gonna come on the show and
Yeah.
talk about Lamar. It's like, there's no way he's doing. But no, way, definitely a way. Yep. Hey guys. Well, keep up the good work. I'll see you guys later.
Peace. All
Later.
right.
What an
Lamageddon.
interesting
What a picture.
segment.
It is, yeah. He needs to do Evil Bong next. That I think that was gonna be funny. That movie's older too, so I feel like it's probably gonna be worse because I don't think that one's gonna be as ironic as this one was. Maybe it is though. I don't know. It's called Evil Bong. Um, but great. That actually works out perfectly because he did a movie review, and we can go right to our review segment. I believe ourselves because I don't know if you have anything you want to review, but I did see the biggest movie of the week in theaters yesterday.
The
I
number one
went and
movie in the
watched.
world.
Yeah, I went and saw the number one movie in the world, Alex Garland's Civil War. All right, folks, everybody strap in.
Which
Buckle your
Civil War is
seatbelt.
this? Is it the Marvel one or is this a new one?
Lean back. No, this was not Captain America Civil War, which is what I thought I was going to see. No, this was Alex Garland's Civil War, which is about the very near future. I think this movie takes place a handful of years in the future. It's about the United States at civil war with itself once again. So really, it should be called Civil War Two because we already did that before. And essentially, Greg, this is an interesting one, right? Because this movie, I have a lot of facts to talk about before I get to the movie itself. Um, this is an A24 movie, which we love A24. You know, we
Yes,
talk
they
about
do
them all
great.
the
They do
time.
great things. Yes.
This is the most expensive movie that A24 has ever made. It was a $50 million budget, which is still like a fraction of most blockbusters, but it's the biggest movie A24 has ever made. They're usually much closer to the 20 million range, and they did it for this Alex Garland film. Alex Garland is a very accomplished filmmaker, screenwriter, and director. He did Ex Machina, Annihilation. He did Men, which was his last movie before this, which people didn't really like. He wrote 28 Days Later. He directed and wrote this TV show called Devs, which is great, one of my favorite sci-fi shows I think I've ever seen. And he's a British dude, made this movie about the Americans having another civil war, and it's one of those where when the first trailer came out, it immediately stoked this online like political argument between people being like, "Oh, here's gonna be another movie that's gonna like poo-poo all over Republicans," or "Here's a movie that's gonna like shit on liberals and Democrats and blah blah blah." And I think everybody came into this movie with such charged political takes. Like people went to this movie ready to be like, oh, it's gonna like have something to say about American politics, and it's gonna take a stance and say this side is right, this side is wrong. And I'll be honest, when I was first seeing the trailer for this movie, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be an annoying ass movie. And I wasn't even planning to see it. And I had a couple friends whose opinions I respect who went and saw this movie and were like, dude, you gotta see this movie. It's actually really good. It's not what you expect. So I put all my preconceived notions aside, got a ticket, went with a couple buds last night to watch it, and I'll say this movie's awesome. It's a great movie. This is a great, great movie. And there's some things that I think are so important to know about Civil War that people just were not talking about. And to be fair, not their fault because the marketing doesn't lead you to believe it to be this way. But this movie does not really take political sides. It's not a very politically charged movie all that much at all. Like all you know in this movie is that there's the Western forces, which is California and Texas, which already this is not based on our own reality because those two those two states do not have aligning political views. Pretty much taking on the East, the United States military, Washington D.C. And they don't ever get into why. The movie is not about like the politics of it all. The movie is about journalists. You
You're
follow a
following a
group of
team. Yeah.
yeah, you follow a group of photojournalists who are essentially on this road trip trying to get to Washington, D.C., the front lines of this war to interview the president. It's been 14 years since someone's interviewed the president, blah, blah, blah. This dude's like on his third term. We don't know the president's politics in this movie. They don't tell you. Yeah, he's played by Nick Offerman, who obviously was funny seeing Ron Swanson in this thing. He's in this movie for like 7 minutes and he gives like a speech. He's not, I mean, you could probably find some clues here and there, but he is not like a Republican caricature. He's not like a Donald Trump stand-in. He's not a Joe Biden stand-in. He's very much a generic president. Um, but the movie is more so about, I think, the role that journalism plays in war and the way that information is disseminated around the world. I think it's such an interesting study of human nature in the way that our beliefs inform the way that we treat people, the way the way that we act to each other in times of crisis. I think this movie is saying so many interesting things that aren't political. That's not like Democrats bad or Republicans bad. I think it's got so many more interesting things to say. I think sound design is amazing. I saw this in a Dolby theater. Maybe it might be the loudest movie I've ever seen. So keep that in mind. If you're a hearing sensitive person, maybe watch it at home or don't see it in like a Dolby or fucking IMAX theater because this movie almost blew my ears out.
If you're over
Um,
35, don't see it in a Dolby.
yeah, it's so jarring. I don't know if I've jumped that many times watching a movie that wasn't a horror movie. The way they use sound, there are times where like there are explosions and the sound gets sucked out, and then you're ripped back into the action with like bullets flying and shit blowing up. The action is so well choreographed, so well shot. Um, the way that they talk about journalism as like an art form and the importance of journalism at a time like this, and how as a photojournalist you're apolitical, and even the main characters like they never really tell you which side of the war they're on. There's battles where there are people fighting and they're standing right next to them in press vests and helmets to get in pictures, and they're doing that on both sides of the war. Like they're swap sides, and obviously people are leaving them alone because they're press, and some people aren't. Some people hate the press. It's just this fascinating kind of road trip story. Also, the main characters work for Reuters or Reuters, which I thought was funny. Just Reuters, the news outlet. There's one guy who like works for the New York Times. I thought that was quite silly, but I thought this movie was great. It's got some very tense moments. There's a scene you see in the trailer with Jesse Plemons' character where he's got people held at like gunpoint, and they're like, "Hey, hey, like we're Americans." And then he asks him, he's like, "What kind of Americans are you?" Whereas again, it's a scene like watching the trailer. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be the most like ham-fisted commentary of like, what kind of Americans are you? Are you liberal? Are you a snowflake? Or are you from the South?" Blah blah. But it's not that. It's still a very dark scene, but just I don't know, so different. And I should give a shout out to the people actually in this movie. Kirsten Dunst is like the one of the main characters. She's like a veteran photojournalist who's been working for decades now, doing what she does. And she kind of talks about like I might just get blown up or shot one of these days. Like I've had these close run-ins being on the front lines of battles. They allude to like her taking this picture of like some massacre many years ago that like kind of like catapulted her journalism career. There's a younger journalist in the movie played by Kaylee Spaney, who is so good, and she's kind of like an aspiring photojournalist, and she like looks up to Kirsten Dunst's character, and she goes along with them on this road trip, and she has her own kind of like welcome to the world kid moment where it's like she's on a battlefield and like people are getting shot and killed, and she's like crying in a corner, and they're like, "Hey, like this is what you wanted to do. This is war. Like you wanted to photograph war and like show the world what's happening. You know, it's not your job to like be emotional. It's your job to get the footage and then let everybody else decide like if it's right or wrong, blah blah blah." So many interesting ideas presented, I think, just about the media and the way information is disseminated. um, I thought this was a very good movie.
And
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I haven't seen it, but I like how you say like it doesn't get into exposition because that's the whole point of the movie is there was a
Yeah,
lot of this
no,
when Ukraine was under fire from Russia. Like, there were interviews with people living there being like, the economy doesn't stop even though you're getting bombed, right? Like, you don't have to stop paying your rent. You don't stop working. You still have to pay your bills and your mortgages. People like life still goes on basically, even if you're in the middle of a war. And I think,
Mhm.
and when you're at this, you're at a ground level here where it's not showing you exhibition from what you've told me. Like, it doesn't explain
Yeah,
what happened. Like you're experiencing it from like as you were in real life. If you were like not at a computer walking
yeah,
around the country, like this is how it is, and you like slowly discover the tidbits. But you don't know, and the answer to that is it's not important. You're following these characters on a journey.
exactly.
Doesn't matter how
Yeah,
California, Texas aligned. They're aligned. You know what I mean? That's all we know
yeah,
because we're not. It's almost like a lot of found footage does this, and I'm not a fan of found footage movies, but like they do that. Like it's ground level stuff. Cloverfield, I think, is a good example, right? Where like you don't know
yeah,
really where the monster came from or how
yeah.
how its
And you don't
anatomy
need to.
works, right? But it takes you through that and like hints at like when you run into like the medical facility, how the louse bites work. Like it tells it through the world rather than through like two people having a discussion in front of like a war room for 10 minutes, telling you how to do that stuff. And
Uh-huh.
it's a rare form of filmmaking, and it's usually found in found footage. And I'm kind of happy to hear that it's not that way in this one. It's actually like a film rather than shaky cam found footage.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie is not concerned with giving you any political exposition because none of it matters. It's just not what this movie is existing to do. It's obviously the backdrop to the story is an American Civil War, but it is his movie. it sounds silly to say, but it's apolitical. It's not a political film. It really isn't. Again, there are lines here and there. Somebody says something about like Antifa at one point, but like I'm sure you could dive into it and try to dissect. But this movie does not have a political message. It's an anti-war film. It all it does is show you how war tears people apart. There's so many like graphically violent depictions of violence and what it does to people. It's such a like gritty, like boots on the ground, which is a term I just use for us, boots on the ground sequences where it's like these people are like getting out of their car and like running towards gunfire and explosions, and they're watching bodies drop. They're watching people duck for cover, uh, bite the pins off grenades, roll them under door frames. They're watching the guy gets shot. He gets dragged into a room. They're like ripping the gauze off. They're taking pictures and whatnot to tell the story that they're trying to put together. Um, and it's just such a like real and like sober look at like war and how one not how just how violent war is, but how violent like a modern war is with all the fucking gadgets and gizmos we have now to rip each other
The
apart.
drones now and
Um,
stuff, yeah, like crazy,
yeah,
yeah.
all that stuff is in here. Yeah,
And
so I don't know. I thought it was excellent.
that was one of the main things I read in some of the reviews is that like it doesn't have it said it tries to play neutral, like it doesn't like but
It
that
does.
and I thought found it weird that that was a criticism, like it doesn't take sides, like you know what I mean, but that's like if I'm
Yeah.
trying to get from one point to the other, I don't give a shit about side. I just want to live to get to where I'm going.
Mhm.
Like and
Yeah.
but I think it cycles back to like we haven't had an internal conflict in within our borders in hundreds of years. You know what I mean? And it's one of the reasons why Europe is like so anti-violence when it comes to like gaming and stuff like that. Like they don't really like, like there's a lot of censorship when it comes to violence because like they lived through World Wars 1 and 2 and it was terrible. Like it tore apart countries, people died, like cities were getting completely annihilated, like it was awful. And we haven't had a skirmish on our soils, I think, since the Civil War, with 1800s. I guess Desert Storm, but that was like 48 hours, right, or something like that. Like it was very short, and it was like, yeah, that's we haven't had one, and like it's especially in our country now when we're so like desensitized to violence, and we're like, I mean, I had friends when Ukraine and Russia got into war, like they wanted to go over there, right? Because like they're pro gun and pro war, and I'm like, why are you pro war? War is bad. Like no matter who's on side,
Yeah.
what side, it's a violent thing that should never happen. And I think that's because our country hasn't had one in a long time. We forget how terrible it is, and how much it
Yeah.
destroys everything, and we don't see that because we're safe. You know what I mean? Like, well, safe, right? In our country, we're safe
Yeah.
from that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
and I think I think that's the message is that hey, war is bad. You know what I mean? Like, this is what a
Mhm.
war would be like in America. It'd be terrible. You know what I mean? So like, stop, stop
It's a
grabbing
zero
your
sum game.
yeah. Yeah, like
Is
it's just
the
it's
message
not
here.
good. It's not good. We're so desensitized. It looks like it was filmed in Georgia. That stretch of highway is very famous. So like the stretch
Mm.
of highway in the trailer is if you
Walking Dead.
it's Walking Dead highway, right? It's a long stretch of highway that I think might be abandoned or like cut off because there's a bypass somewhere. So like people film it all the time, and it looks great. But no,
Mhm.
it's interesting. It's only in theaters though, right? It's not streaming anywhere yet. A24 doesn't have any streaming deals. They're like Sony.
Correct. Well, they do. I think A24 did make a deal with somebody like Max or someone, but I mean they don't do like day and date release. No, it's gonna finish its theatrical run and then eventually come on to streaming. But great movie. I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. My one thing hang up, not I didn't dislike this, but for you, Greg, this is a very violent movie. You watch a lot of people get killed in this film, and you see a lot of dead bodies, like straight up dead on the ground, riddled with bullet holes, puddle of blood, dead bodies. So I don't know what your mileage may vary when it comes to that stuff. It's definitely intentional because they want you to look at it and be like, this is bad and shouldn't happen. But definitely something worth
No, I don't mind.
enjoying.
I don't mind violence if it has meaning to it. Like if it's there to prove a point or to like progress a story for it. If it's just there to just cringe you out and there's no point in it there, or you can cut away from it. And still like that's what I don't like.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
no,
that's
this
fair.
it seems like I mean like you said it's anti-war and war is super violent and we haven't had a conflict in hundreds of years, like internally. So
Yeah.
like and that's it's showing you what a conflict would be like and why it's just yeah, I mean, especially now, like it does look very political on the outside. Like from an outsider looking in who hasn't seen it, it could look very political. And the pro-Trumpers, the anti-Trumpers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like you can definitely feel that way. But I'm glad it's not. I'm glad it's just kind of focusing. No, it doesn't matter who you're aligned with. It's just war. War is bad. War is violent. War is
yeah,
is crazy. And I
yeah,
want to say
for
like
sure.
there was a war. I think it was after the Civil War. Like it's it used to be romanticized like for like hundreds of years. You go off to battle, right, with the Romans, right? It was like this big honor to like
Yeah.
doing this war, and like we even glorify it in so many movies, like 300. Oh, it's such an
It's the
honor to
most
go and die
patriotic
in
thing you can
war.
do.
Yeah, right. But like, it's not though. It's not like whether on you're wrong, they're on the wrong side or the right side. It's still violent, regardless who's in the right or
Yeah.
who's in the wrong. It's always violent, and that's the
Mhm.
point, right? And it's always
Yeah.
because two people don't get along, or two people in power disagree on something, and then so thousands of people are sent to their death. In some cases, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. It's a great movie. It's gonna be one of my favorites, of the year, I believe. It'll probably end up in my top 10. Thought it was great. I love being pleasantly surprised by a movie. I love being wrong about a movie because Alex Garland, like I mentioned, to kind of zoom out here, a bit hit or miss. Like I said, like his last movie was Men, came out in 2022, which kind of people kind of hated across the board.
What was that movie?
Um,
It sounds familiar.
it was another A24 joint. No, Men might not have been A24, but it was the movie where this woman goes like a village and it's like all dudes, but they're all like the same guy, and it gets really like psychological and weird. And it's supposed to have like themes of like sexism and misogyny, but I don't know. I think people just kind of said it really missed the mark. I didn't watch it, but then he also did like Annihilation, which I thought was great, which was like the Natalie Portman sci-fi movie where there's like a zombie bear thing. Um, so when the trailer came out and I saw like, oh, politics and A24's most expensive movie, I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be a mistake. This is gonna be a mistake. But ended up being a great movie. Not a good idea to doubt successful filmmakers, but I did. And I thought it was a good movie. Also, interesting point that Alex Garland, he recently said in an interview that this is his last movie that he's gonna direct. He said that he's done directing movies. I think he just talked about like how hard it was to make this movie and how long it took. He's just like, I'm just done doing this cycle.
It's
I don't know. I
tough.
think he's gonna
It's
keep
really
writing, but
tough.
yeah.
Because if the
Mhm.
movie fails, you're the first person to get blamed. The first person, well, maybe the writer,
Yeah.
but the directors, that's it technically your job is only direction. You're not in charge of production design, but like you're the one who carries that film. Like you're the one who takes the credit, and you're the one who takes if it's good or bad. Like you're the one who gets blamed. Hollywood loves blaming an individual rather than a team. So it's always either
Right.
the director's fault or the writer's fault or what studio. It's somebody. It's never an umbrella. It's always an individual. But no, I totally get it.
Blame
And
the
there's a
prop
lot of
master.
yeah, blame the prop master. Yeah, it's his fault. It's the set designer's fault. It's the costume designer's fault. That's all it is. It's funny too because I just want to say, harking back a little bit, when also said that you said that the people who made Lamageddon turned on each other. There was a
Right.
there was a creative force called Wayside Creative that had did this Fallout film, and it was really good and received really well. And it started to open doors in Hollywood, and they started to do more things. And then there was one fucking guy, and I don't know, Zach Finfrock might correct me if I'm wrong if he watches this, but there was like one guy who seized every opportunity to throw anyone under the bus and get as high as he could in the totem pole and threw everyone else out the window. That's Hollywood, man.
Mm.
That's what they do. It's almost a requirement, which is one of the reasons like I don't think I
Well,
would have survived
but
that.
I don't think that's just Hollywood. I think that's just success because looking at the
Okay,
Llama
there you go.
example, those guys weren't even in Hollywood. They were making like a Kickstarter movie, and even they were like pointing fingers at each other. That wasn't even Hollywood. Even just trying to get like their movie fundraised, they were like stealing ideas from each other and going behind each other's
Yeah,
backs.
it's
And they were
awful.
just
It's like the
it's just
one
it's
whiff
just
of
what success does
success,
to
and everyone
people.
starts grabbing, like, and starts. It's
Mhm.
really terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Give credit
But
where credit's due, and like try to leave the door open. But we live in a society now where you don't leave the door open, you slam it behind you and you hold it.
we live in a society.
Yeah, we live in a
Yeah.
society. I'll have to look at Annihilation. Apparently, it's on Paramount Plus, so I'll have to look. But if it's a horror movie, Nicole might not like that. So, but she likes Natalie
You
Portman.
probably
So
won't like it. It's like sci-fi weirdness, but it does have some scary sequences for sure.
it's
So
it's tough when you have a partner and like you want to watch movies with them, and like but like if they don't like movies, like you're very limited, and like Nicole likes certain types of
right.
movies, and like I'm not a huge fan of horror, but I'll watch it. Nicole just won't watch horror. She just does not like horror.
Yeah.
She just won't do it. So it's tough. It's
Maybe
definitely tough.
they put Henry Cavill in a horror movie. I'll
Yes,
watch
she
that.
will. Well, he's doing a new movie right now, right? He just did another movie that came out, which is funny.
Mhm.
I don't even think he's the
You
main character.
should you should tell her one day like that you're putting a movie on, and then just put on the YouTube video where Henry Cavill builds a PC for like 30 minutes and see if she says anything. Like, see if she tells you to turn it off because it's just him building a PC. Just pull it up on YouTube and just see if she just watches it.
Oh,
That's
she will.
my experience.
And then we might have sex afterwards. Is there a correlation? I'm not sure. I don't care. Who cares?
Please. Oh my god. But I look, I my final thoughts. Civil War is a great movie. I think people should watch it. I think it's worth seeing. I think it's got some actual really interesting things to say. Also, Danny's vouching for Annihilation, so it's also known for having pretty much an all female main cast that kills it. That's true. Yeah, Natalie Portman's the main one in that movie, but there's a good amount of other folks involved in it as well that I cannot recall the names of at this current time. But Greg, I do want to open the floor to you. Did you have anything you wanted to review this week? I'm not sure if you've seen anything recently.
X-Men 97. X-Men 97. X-Men 97.
Season one is not over yet, right? It's still going.
No, it's still going, and they're doing it the right way. I know people disagree with me on this. They're releasing it one at a time, so you don't binge the whole thing in 3 days and then people forget.
That's how we did it back in my day.
Yes, I enjoy that. It's a great show. I swear, it makes me very upset because people are like, "Well, this show's so great. It's taken so seriously." Did nobody watch Wolverine and the X-Men? Like, it was a great, I think it was 18 episodes, one season, terrific show, came and went so fast. But like, it's literally like everything the show that people are loving. Please watch it. Wolverine and the X-Men. I believe it's streaming on Disney Plus. It's a great show.
Yeah,
it has a lot of the same themes that everyone loves about the original show. A lot of serious moments, a lot of cool off-ball characters that get a lot of limelight. Like Dust is in it. If you know, Dust is a
hey, I like Dust.
Yeah, she's great. Like talk about a cool power, right? Like I don't even know how you would defeat her. You just kill everything. But no, like they for spoilers in episode 5, they like clean house. They completely clear house. So like all these characters die. And Cable is apparently learning how to time jump because you see him and he's like, "Damn, if only I'd learned how to read numbers, I could get there sooner." But no, it was good. It was great. Like the great battle scenes, like a lot of the 90s cheese is still there. Like they totally get it. It's a great show. I mean, I have nothing really bad to say about it. It's fun. It's done well. I'm hoping it causes a resurgence in X-Men. I know I kind of feel personally we're on our way out from the superhero stuff, but like I would like to see the X-Men get their due diligence in some form. That's
nope. You said it's over. It's over.
It might be over. I don't know.
No, you want the superheroes to stop? You can't get your X-Men.
I think it hinges. I think it all hinges on how well Deadpool Wolverine does. If that movie does
spoilers very well.
If it does very well, I think we're still in it. If it does mediocre, I think we might be on our way out. So I mean, it's hard to tell, right? But yeah, see, like the show's great. Everyone should watch it. I mean, you don't need to see the original show to really understand what's going on, because even the original show took liberties. Like they wanted you to assume you knew who Cyclops was. They wanted you to assume you knew who Jean Grey was and Storm is. You know, there is some assumptions. You have to be familiar with the X-Men in general, like either in the comic form or toy form or something like that, just to but you don't need to understand everything, which is fun. But it's a great show. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to continue to watch it. Not excited about the next episode because they're going to space, Donovan. Yay, Corsair. Yay, Gladiator. Oh my God.
It's the X-Men, man. This is what they do. They go to space sometimes, all right?
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right now. I hate the fucking Phoenix Force. Stop throwing back to that stupid Phoenix Force. I hate that story arc. I've always hated it. It's overly complex. It's overly out there. It's way like it's so stupid, and everyone tries to do it, and I don't know why. I don't know why everyone is fixated on the Phoenix Force.
Well, it's one of the most iconic storylines in comic book history, Greg.
Space pirates. I can't do it. It's the space pirates. Like they're on Earth. They have superpowers. They're interesting enough. We don't need to go to space.
If everything they were doing in space happened on the ocean and they were on a pirate ship and they were going to islands, you would eat it up.
Maybe. I mean, they do kind of do that with Genosha, but like, yeah, I just can't do I don't know, they're mutants. They're interesting enough. We don't need to add aliens into it too, but I guess it's part of the world. That's just me, though. This is being my stupid preference. But no, please, watch X-Men 97. It's a good show. Watch Wolverine and the X-Men, for love of God, if you haven't. Donovan, you like Wolverine and the X-Men. You have no reference on what's happening. It explains everything. It's a self-contained story about Wolverine getting all the X-Men together. Iceman's a little overexcited to leave his family and join the X-Men, which is a little weird, but still.
Hey, one of my favorite X-Men, Iceman.
No, I love him too, but like he's my top 3. But just like they're like, Bobby, we need you. He's like, yeah, and he's like buckling to see X-Men. They're like, what about your family? X-Men, and you're like, what?
X-Men are his family.
Yeah, right.
That's who he really wants to get back to.
Screw that.
That's real.
Wolverine the X-Men. Yes, thank you, Denny. Yeah, it is. So yeah, please watch that. And then that's more recent. And then like my wife and I have been watched all of Fallout. We watched that. And we had nothing else to watch because we've watched everything. because The
Did
Boys is
she like
taking
Fallout?
forever.
No, you liked it.
Yeah, she liked Fallout. I like Fallout. I've watched it probably 3 times. I keep finding more
Whoa,
things.
you're like old Bill Lavoy.
Dude, I keep finding more things in that show. And I'm just like, wow, like I didn't notice that the first time, right? Like, I talk about the framing anyway. I don't want to talk about it too much. It's a great show. You should watch that. We started
Good
to watch
TV.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine because we've never seen it.
Oh, nice.
We've never seen the show. And I was saying I'm kind of surprised by how like tame Andy Samberg is. Like he's actually really funny, but he doesn't go over the top. You know, usually he's pretty over the top with some of his stuff, and you can
Right.
take it or leave it. But he does it pretty straight, and a lot of his humor is dry and has a lot of like little quotes that even my wife enjoys. Uh,
Yeah.
and of course, like the Captain Holt, that character is really funny. It's a funny show.
R.I.P.
I'm always late to TV. I'm always late, like by like decades. So, but it's a funny
Yeah.
show. I'm enjoying Brooklyn Nine-Nine, even though it's old. I didn't even know when it came out. But it's got 8 seasons, so
Yeah.
obviously it stayed around for a while.
I mean, hey, I didn't watch The Office till 2016, so you know,
Oh, that's true.
what can you say?
Did I tell you that
What
I've
can
been
you say?
watching SNL on Paramount, not on Paramount Peacock on
Well,
Peacock?
like old SNL?
No, like recent SNL.
Oh, the new ones. I don't know which would be better or worse, but
I
yeah.
mean, it's sketch comedy is hard.
Live
It's
from
hit
New
or
York,
miss. It's
it's
always hit or
Saturday
miss, right?
night.
Like my
Mhm.
favorite segment of the show is Michael Che and Colin Yost
Weekend
for the
Update.
Weekend Update. I love that show, right? And people will
Yeah.
notice that they have pens in front of them, right? That like, and Michael Shea especially, he's crossing off jokes when they don't work. Like he makes notes to see what the audience liked and what doesn't like. And I love their
Mhm.
reaction, especially Michael. Michael will get offended if they don't like a joke, and I think that's great because like I think
Yeah, Weekend Update's great.
yeah, Michael Shea is one of those very talented, educated writers, super educated, and like a lot of his
Mhm.
jokes, I think go over a lot of people's heads, including mine, because like they're just he's so much smarter than I am. So like you could take that to the bank.
Mhm.
But I love Weekend Update, SNL. The latest one was hosted by I called him what's his name? I can't.
Uh-oh.
Oh my god, he was in Barbie. Why can't I remember his name? I confused him with another actor before.
Was
Uh,
it
he was
Kingsley
Ken in
Ben-Adir?
Barbie.
Oh, what, Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. Thank you. Ryan Gosling was the host, and I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
think
he was, yeah.
I don't think he had a single scene where he didn't break character. And if you know anything
He's
about the
having too
history of
much fun.
SNL, is that like the producers hate it when you do that. Don't do that. They don't not like it because it goes over time and they have to
Yeah, I
cut
mean,
stuff.
they hate it when their cast members do it because 'cause they're the ones that are being, like, held accountable. The guests do whatever on SNL, though. The guests, are always, like, the wild cards when they come in,
Well, like
you
yeah,
know? They're just
it was a great show. Like I mean, if you haven't watched SNL in like a hot minute, it's just like I was one of those people that get into it and then get out of it. But like this last episode, which was last weekend's, is really funny. He breaks character constantly, and it makes the sketches so much funnier because everyone else starts
yeah.
breaking because he's breaking, and it just kind of goes on. If you ever seen Bill Hader break, that's a good one too. Like it's
Yeah.
funny, but there some of the sketches are hit or miss, and some of them are funny. That's sketch comedy though. You roll the dice. But so yeah, I mean, if you have Peacock Plus, or is it just Peacock or is it Peacock Plus? I can't keep track of all the plus
Peacock.
minus stuff. If you have Peacock, I would check it out. It's pretty funny. It was a
Mhm.
pretty funny episode. More hits than misses. That's how I look at it as a positive. There are more funny scenes than not.
Well, you'll be excited to know, Greg, that there's a movie coming out, called SNL 1975. It's, like, about the, like, first night of SNL when it, like, first launched in the '70s and, like, them bringing it to life. They like the idea, so
And there's also
maybe that'll be a good, like, supplement to your watching.
a Steve Martin documentary. I think that's on need to watch too. I think that's kind of interesting
Mm,
because if you followed,
yeah.
if you know anything about Steve Martin, like in like pre '60s, a lot of comedy was political. Like it was very educated political comedy. Like there was not like a lot of slapstick stuff.
Comedy's political now. It's all people make
Right.
jokes about.
It comes in waves. Yeah. And then like in the '60s, Steve Martin was kind of the first people to bring back like slapstick comedy, like, you know, off the wall zany stuff. So he's one of the first comedians to do that, like do silly songs and act silly stuff like that. And of course that started a tidal wave of other comedians coming back, like Chevy Chase and all those people that came back in that same lieu of non-political
Mhm.
comedy. So like I have to watch his documentaries out. I don't know I think it might be on Hulu. It's somewhere. I They released a trailer a few months ago, but I can't remember what I did last week. So, but that's something I have to check out. But anyway, sorry, I'm totally sidetracked. SNL was funny. The last season, you should definitely watch it,
Yeah.
Donovan. I think you'd get a kick out of it.
I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Yeah, it had to be Peacock for me because cable is not something that I've never
Oh, I'm
had since
sorry,
I
me.
started living on my own. But yeah, I mean, hey, the only thing I've known always about SNL is that they have Keenan Thompson on there, which is obviously childhood staple Nickelodeon kids, and he's like the longest tenured member in the history of SNL, which is pretty cool. So there you go.
Yeah,
What a what a
he's a
beautiful
great
review.
comedian too. His long history.
Mhm.
He's been acting since I was a kid. I loved him in Good Burger. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I don't know if you ever seen that movie.
Yeah, you loved it. Did you watch the new one they put out like
Uh,
last year, Good
you
Burger
know,
2?
no, I stayed away from it just because I'm so fond of the original one, like with the cast of all that, and like I just I didn't want to
Well,
watch
watch the
it.
second one.
I was
It's
scared.
fun.
I was scared. Just like just, you were scared about the Avatar vendor show. You get it. You get it.
Oh,
You.
I wasn't scared. I just didn't want to watch it. I just didn't want anything to do with it.
I was scared. I'm not going to see the Steve Martin documentary because it's on Apple Plus TV. Yay! No, I'm not paying.
I just got 3 months of Apple TV Plus because I bought a new iPhone. So maybe I'll watch it and tell you how it is. You
But
know,
anyway, I think that's our show, right? Is that everything?
I think that is everything, Greg.
We hit a
You
lot of
are
stuff
right
today.
on the money there. That was a packed show, and we're still just a few minutes under that time limit, baby. You've just watched episode 127 of Shack News Presents Pop Goes the Culture, of course. Stick around as we've got other things going on. TJ's gearing up. He's warming up his engine for taking it to the lab. That guy's about to tap into a different mode playing that game. I'm sure it'll be fun to watch. He's much better at it than the rest of us are. That's for damn sure. And of course, once again, want to remind you, follow the stream, hit the notification bell, subscribe if it's within your means, or don't, just watch. We appreciate that too. It also means a lot to us. Thank you so much. Greg and I will be back next week. I don't know if we'll be back at our same time next Thursday. We might have to do some weird stuff because of stocks. I don't know. I'm just kind of guessing. I think we're getting to that time again. But regardless, we should see you next week for the
Oh, we have a
latest
special announcement for
episode.
next week too. We have a special
Uh,
announcement.
whoa, this is news to me. What's happening next week?
We'll have an interview, very fast interview with one of the cast members from Fallout Prime. So please stick tuned.
There you
Who?
go.
You have to stick around and find out who we got.
I have an idea.
I think Donovan knows. I think Denny
Stay
knows.
tuned. Stay tuned, baby. And of course, that's all coming to you next week. Until then, I'm Donovan. That's Greg. Thank you for watching Pop Goes the Culture. We'll see you next week. Peace out.